DJ, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Say one in the building. Newstoter family, what's going on, man? Professor, brother Moko, you know my man. Just to be around. What up? What up? Hey, yo, I just came off the Dimitri K show. Shout out to that sister. She fine.
Dimitri K. I heard the name before. I don't think I caught her channel. I got to go ahead and check it. I know I've heard her name before.
Hey, sister Rue Rock, Kevin Samuels was right. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't even gonna lie, DJ. I was surprised to hear black females saying some of the things that she was saying, but I have to say she gave a little bit of hope to me about black women, checking black women. I really appreciate her view. Thanks.
Hey, can y'all hear me? Cause is my phone kind of low tonight?
Nah, you sound normal.
No, you sound real good. Try that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's normal, dude.
Maybe because it's so much rain and stuff going on right now too. So the rain kind of drowning everything out a little bit over here, but it's pouring down, man.
Hey, that could be a static electricity issue too. That's why I tell folks to go get these Furmans, these heavy duty power conditioners, surge protectors. You know, you got all this equipment, all this electricity flowing into one socket. You need something that can actually handle it. You know what I'm saying? Because all electricity is dirty, and being that you got a weather issue going down there, it's gonna be even dirtier. You got to get them modules up, man.
Real talk, real talk. What's up? What's up? What's up? See Dana up in the spot as well too. Shout out to Tony, man. I know y'all been hearing everything going on lately with the situation out there in California. You have a lot of indigenous people now that's kind of on the reparation bandwagon as well too, and their argument, and I can understand what they're saying to a certain degree. They're saying that a lot of the actual the land that people live on, and some of the situations out there in California, everything was built on what they consider to be sacred land that was already owned to them, that belonged to them. And, they don't particularly want to be left out of the reparation conversation as well, too, because they understand the plight of what they say Black people. They understand the plight of Latinos and everything else as well, too. But they're also saying that, hey, a lot of these developments and everything that's sitting on it, from these college campuses to these baseball stadiums, to everything that you can think of, that we were the first inhabitants of this actual land, and that we should also be compensated by reparations as well too. So as the reparation thing is heating up for Black people, it's also heating up as you got a lot of indigenous people, and I'm starting to see that nationwide too. A lot of them are talking about all the way from the U.S. to Canada. They're talking about reparations, and they're talking about a lot of these actual sacred lands that these colleges are on and stuff is actually belong to them, and they want to be compensated for it as well too. So I just want to get everybody's opinion on that tonight. How you guys feel about that? As soon as we start, kind of hitting headway with the actual reparation talk, you see that it's gone global, and so many other people are actually trying to actually I wouldn't say shoehorn themselves in, but they're definitely trying to make it known that, hey, we feel like we're entitled to something as well too. It just can't be specifically one group of people. So I want to get everybody's opinion on that. And before I even touch up on that, we go deep in that. I want to go ahead. I don't know if y'all heard anything about this actual bill that they're trying to pass out there in California as well too. You can see it in the title. It says Cali bill to consider race and sentencing. They're talking about having judge consider when quote unquote Black criminals are convicted, in terms of the actual sentencing guidelines, changing that up because of the historical racial bias and systematic racism that was involved as well too. So I'm gonna touch up on that real quick. This is a short article. The one with the reparations about for because the other title is reparations are proposed for Black Californians, and what about indigenous people? That's a pretty long article, so I'm just gonna pinpoint stuff from here and there, whatever. So I'm not gonna really touch up on that. But this one, real quick, I want to go into. Shout out to my people that's coming in on YouTube as well too. Shout out to the folks coming in on YouTube, guys. Make sure y'all go ahead and tweet the space out. Like I said, y'all may hear some rain and thunder in the background. It is raining cats and dogs here in Florida as well. So it's raining cats and dogs here. But let me go ahead and touch up on this. This is from one of my main curators, Neo Jim Crow. It says California lawmakers pass bill for judges to lower sentences for Black criminals over slavery. That's up in the Jumbotron as well, too. Legislators in California, United States have passed a bill that would require judges in the state to consider black criminals when being convicted. The bill, backed by state Democrats, would also allow judges to determine how long to sentence such convicted blacks to prison for crimes committed. Reggie Jones Sawyer, a Democratic Assembly member, quietly introduced Bill 852 in February, saying it was aimed to rectify racial bias in the justice system. In May, the Assembly passed a little-known legislation which would see judges weighing how prosecuted minorities have been. You see, we end up talking about blacks and slavery, and next thing you know, we talking about minorities. Now the measure is currently being considered in the state's upper chamber, the Senate. The bill would add a section to the Penal Code of California state regarding race, and if signed by Governor Gavin Newsom, it would require the courts, whenever they have the authority to determine a prison sentence, to rectify alleged racial bias in the criminal justice system. It is the intent of the legislature to rectify the racial bias that has historically permeated our criminal justice system, as documented by the California Task Force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. Whenever the court has discretion to determine the appropriate sentence according to relevant statutes and the sentencing rules of the Judicial Council, the court presiding over a criminal matter shall consider the impact on historically disenfranchised and systematic impacted populations. That still doesn't sound like that's specifically for black people, even though the title says that. The proposed new section to the Penal Code reads, the bill added that race as a factor when making a judgment will help to determine the appropriate sentence according to relevant statutes. The controversial bill comes as the state continues to consider the costs and overall implications of paying back black residents reparations for slavery and racism. Although the California Task Force referenced in the bill was created by state legislation signed by Mr. Newsom in 2020 to examine the possibility of implementing statewide reparations as a way to make amends for slavery and racism, late last month, the task force released its final recommendations, which the state legislature will consider whether to implement and to send to the governor's desk to be signed into law. In the report, the task force proposed dozens of statewide policies and ways to calculate monetary reparations designed to redress slavery and historical injustices against Black Americans. According to the task force, such history has created lingering consequences that exist today in the form of systematic racism. The task force estimated the minimum dollar amount and harm that California has caused or could have prevented totals at least $1 million per eligible Black Californian. In terms of criminal justice specifically, the task force determined that qualifying Black residents could be owed over $115,000 or around $2,352 per year of residency in California from 1971 to 2020 as compensation for over-policing in Black communities, excess felony drug arrests, and disproportionate prison time during the so-called war on drugs. The final report also included proposals to end cash bail and the prosecution of low-level crimes. Bill 852 seeks to build off the task force findings and recommendation by mandating that California courts fight what it describes as racial bias in sentencing that can disadvantage Black people and other minorities. How are we getting other minorities in here when the actual title says California lawmakers passed bill for judges to lower sentences for Black criminals over slavery? And, you know, it didn't even take a full paragraph before the word minorities popped up. And then we're sitting up here, and in the same article, we're sitting up here also talking about the task force, and we're talking about what reparations and this and that or whatever, yet we're still somehow incorporating minorities in this. Now, is this for Black people or is this for people of color and unserved communities and all this other stuff? So this is what we're talking about right here. Like this is what, you know, gets a lot of Black people upset. It reads off that we're talking about Black folks. This is about Black folks, and then not long after about Black folks, and then we also cite, you know, the task force and reparations. We talk about what Black people can get just in terms of criminal justice, specifically the task force determined that qualifying Black residents could be owed over $115,000 or around $2,352 per year in residency. But then we still, at the end of the actual article, it says Bill 852 seeks to build off the task force findings and recommendations by mandating that California court fights what it describes as racial bias and sentencing that can disadvantage Black people and other minorities. So are we gonna use the task force? Are we gonna use black people as another symbolic figure, and then we're gonna go around and get to minorities? Like this is the whole thing that you have to worry about with reparations now, because we read that you see the way reparations was worded into this actual article, and not long in this article, it didn't take long for everybody to come up here and start talking about minorities, even though the title is talking about black criminals in slavery, talking about passing the bill. So you think the bill is specifically for black people that's been arrested, and you're talking about the bias and systematic racism in the system and this and that or whatever. But then it gets to minorities. So to me, this doesn't seem like it's specifically for black people to me. Not when you start. If an article doesn't specifically say black people, you use slavery, you got the reparations, you got the task force, you got everything in there, but a little dog whistles are blowing off, and the dog whistles blowing off is talking about minorities. There, there was no minorities in slavery. There was only one group in slavery impacted by it. So the article should at least state it off and say that, hey, we're going to pass a bill, but the judge should consider lowering sentences for minorities in California. And then that would have been understood. But when you start putting black and slavery in the same headline, when you put reparations also in the article, but then you conveniently, at least 3, 4 times in this article, mention minorities, then that's an issue. Let me give a shout out to everybody on YouTube. Shout out to my man Dusty. Nat, what's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for the contribution, Nat. Thank Cognitive as well. Two guys, we want to get up in this. And like I said, we talking tonight also, y'all. We talking about the indigenous people. I want to know how everybody feels about the indigenous people, and their call for reparations as well too. We know historically people always felt and people always linked the actual black struggle and the indigenous struggle together. And we've heard Joe Biden also say that he could support reparations if Native Americans were also included in it. Now, we honestly know Joe Biden doesn't mean that. Joe Biden doesn't want to give anything to black people, but that was a way of just actually saying, well, yeah, if I got to give you something, I'm going to put them in there as well, too. But we know he doesn't truly mean that. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody's got to say tonight. Shout out to everybody coming up in the space. Once again, the news held with space. Shout out to I see Brother McCool. Man, I saw you disconnecting. If you come back up here, get back up here, because I know you had your hand up and I wanted to go ahead and get to you. But I just had to go ahead and shout out to Cognitive and Black Majority State. Ray, I see you up in here. Goddess, Nita, everybody, I see you guys coming up in here as well too. Brother Muku, are you there? I saw you disconnecting, but I see your hand up. Are you there? Let me see if he's there. You there? Brother Muku, you there? Uh-oh. He was there. His hand was disconnected. He'll be back up here in a second, hopefully. Hopefully he'll be up here, man. But Professor DJ, I know y'all heard that actual article. Yeah, I'm just saying I know you heard that article and kind of the coded language that was involved in it. Okay, I see Brother Moku coming up here. I got you, Brother Moku. Let me let you get up here because I don't want you to disconnect. Brother Moku, go ahead. You got it. You there, Brother Moku?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, those articles you read there. The one thing that I always notice is when they talk about black people and specifically reparations, and it's always buckets and buckets of words. Shout out to Buffalo. She was talking to I think it was like a Jamaican or African doctor or whatever, and she made one comment, and before it only took one comment before this African or whatever nationality she was. I think it was an African doctor. She just started, well, your struggle is your struggle. I think it's a real interesting point that you made, and when you read how you pointed out that it only took a paragraph before they started including others. Like, who the fuck were the others that were enslaved with us? Nobody was in chains in them fields beside us, and the ones that were what they call the servants, that wasn't slavery. You know what I'm saying? So this, I always look for these type of gestures and these type of moves that the white supremacists do. Um, they always it makes me feel like you going to the when you go to the bank and you're trying to get a loan for like $1 million house and they come up with so many fucking excuses why they can't give you the loan. You know what I'm saying? That's what that article sounded like. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if look, you know it's it's something that's owed. Pay your bill. You feel what I'm saying? Instead, it just seems like every time we go to these motherfuckers excuse me, didn't mean to curse. Every time we go to this establishment of white supremacy for the bill, the payment. Yo, you owe this money. Give us this. Give us what's owed. And they always come up with like a million and million buckets and buckets of words of why they can't pay this bill, but we should put others in here. And I mean, I can't pay your bill because I still owe, the water man, the milk man. I still owe, for they come up with every bill they owe for instead of just paying us what they owe. So, thank you for pointing that out. And, I think that everyone in this space, we should be aware and start being very suspicious when we start hearing buckets and buckets of words. Because all them words, all they put them words in there to do is to confuse us and to get us off of our focus. You know what I'm saying? Like that article started with the title, you know what I'm saying, about black people specifically. And then no more than a paragraph, just like Newstoter said, no more than a paragraph. And already you're trying to insert and shoehorn other people in. And then I think that's the best term we can use, that shoehorn effect. That's what this is right here. I land it.
Real quick, brother Moku, before you mute your mic up, what's your feeling on the indigenous people out there in California and not only California, but I see in Minnesota. I'm starting to see nationwide that you're having that the indigenous people, what do you want to call them, indigenous, Native American. I know Indian is not quote unquote the proper term to call them, but what's your feeling about them being, a little bit more vocal in terms of reparations and, pretty much saying that, everybody, everything that's pretty much built on out here, most of the stuff that's built on in this country and a lot of the statues, the houses, the monuments, the buildings, whatever, are really on their actual property, that they were the actual, they were the first people here and that they are too deserving of reparations.
Uh, the way that I feel about that is the Indians should voice how much they had hand in our slavery. You know what I'm saying? When I hear anything about Indians, I don't want to hear anything about Indians except them admit that they were collaborators in slavery. As far as reparations owed, I mean, I know that some of our blacks or Negroes procreated with some of the Indians, and some and for some cases that made some of their offspring Indian as well. But that's not. I mean, hey, to the collaborators, hey, they did what they had to do. But as far as on a whole scale, I don't want to hear nothing from the Indians except cut the check too. Real talk. This is according to counter racist logic. This isn't, me and my feelings. We have a history and it was recorded, and it was recorded for a reason. Um, so I feel the same way about the Indians I feel the same way about the Indians that I feel about the white supremacists. They play both sides of the same argument to get what they got. They got the casinos, they got all their things, and they keeping black people off of their reservations. They're not paying, none of the what they call civilized tribes. They're not living up to the treaties that Claude Anderson is still fighting for. Claude Anderson and the Harvest Institute is still fighting for. But instead, off of our backs, you know what I'm saying? They want to fight for reparations and try to, link it to us. No. Talk about all the slave catchers. Talk about all them $20 bills that they got for catching the slaves that were running away. Let's talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about how the Chickasaw or the Choctaw and the Chickasaw, whatever all them tribes. Talk about how they enslaved our people, our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, if you want to talk about something, talk about your hand in it. I don't want to speak about no reparations for Indian people because to me, y'all collaborators. So whatever happened to y'all, happened to y'all because y'all was sleeping with the fuck. Excuse my friends, sleeping with the enemy, and when you sleep with the enemy, you get harm done to you.
All right, brother Moku. Definitely. Thank you. We got my man Iron Malt up here. Iron Malt, what's up? And I see my man Original up here too. Original, I know you're gonna grab the mic sometime tonight as well too, because I know you're gonna speak up on this. Shout out to my people over there in YouTube land as well too. Fun Face, Extreme X, of course, Nat and the rest of you guys. Shout out to y'all. Make sure y'all share the broadcast like you always do. Like and comment as well too, guys. And for those that's up in the space, make sure if you have not already followed YouTube, followed Newstoter on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and follow us on YouTube. It's up in the Jumbotron on the left-hand side. Let's keep the Jumbotron kind of empty tonight, guys. Don't need to put too much stuff on there so people can navigate it freely. But go ahead, IMO, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, and hello to everyone. I just popped on and saw the subject on YouTube. Y'all subscribe to that also.
Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you.
The thing is, I come from Oklahoma, and the 5 civilized tribes who left some people in a place called Greenwood, Oklahoma, which is actually must say is the Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Ash, and Pine. So they left those folks there with nothing. Some of them, from what I was taught in school, Oklahoma history, along with that Oklahoma history also had our Black history, true Black history, not African history. Some of those people from the 5 civilized tribes were Confederates and had slaves. So they owe us also, even when some were blacks were still in the tribes during the years, Red Earth festivals and all that. They kicked most of the black people out of those tribes and threw in a whole lot of white people. White people can be 1/64th and still get the benefits. Newstoter, I showed you, put in for, Kim Tallberry that was telling Biden and the Democrats stop trying to use Native Americans to cover up black reparations. Also put how much money that each Mongoloid Red Native American gets each month. But now you got some screaming about reparations when they not owed any reparations. They got paid. A movie's coming out some out the flower to the moon something where these white men was marrying these Indian women, killing them off. Native American women killing them off. But the thing is, I already knew was going to come up, that they was going to use the Native American narrative to try to get reparations. Biden, most of these $5 Indians and everybody else, and that's going to be a big no-go. They got theirs, we need ours. I'll let my plane there.
All right. Thank you. I know you had sent me a DM, something that was saying something about Cherokee teenagers making $110,000 or whatever.
Oh yeah. That's what they get. Most of Native Americans, in 5 civilized tribes and other places, they get a whole nice big check every month for doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Benefits, license, from your license plate. You don't have to pay for tags, free college, a whole lot of stuff.
Well, yeah,
still get to work the casino.
That's a lot of money there. If you're talking about 110, and of course, I know now. Would that be? Is it because this article that I had? They talking about it's 150 tribal nations, I guess, out there in the actual in the actual state of California. So I know we always think about the main tribes and everything else like that as well too. Is that money to your knowledge? I know you say from Oklahoma. Is that money pretty much just with the quote unquote the civilized tribes, or is that with the smaller ones as well too?
It's kind of a mixture of both. Civilized tribes and some of the smaller tribes get that. He chose to go on reservations. Some got forced on it. The ones like in California and stuff, I guarantee you they get some type of money. I guarantee you from California, and most of them probably not even a quarter Native American anymore, since they being mixed in. So it's off and on type thing. Some places get, some don't. Jim Kleinburn helped some Native Americans over there in South Carolina get their reparations money, but won't help black folks. Some Washita, some type of Indians over there he was helping.
That's very true. That's very true. He was campaigning for them as well too. And then when you ask him about something for black people, reparations, he has a look on his face like he's about ready to haul off and slap you in the mouth for even asking him something so stupid. So that's very true, Iron Malt. What's up, Original? I see you up in the space as well too. Thank you, Iron Malt. Let me go ahead and get to Original, and everybody else up in the space too, man. Like I said, we're talking about this. This bill looks bogus to me out here in Cali. Talking about considering race in terms of the actual sentencing and these cases and stuff like that. And like I said, I read that, and the actual title of the article says California lawmakers pass bill for judges to lower sentences for black criminals over slavery. The two key words in that, black and slavery. But yet, many times in that article, at least 4 or 5 different times, like I said, I didn't even get to a whole paragraph before the word minority started popping up. So I'm trying to figure, and not only that, they played on the entire reparation thing and the task force and everything else and what black people are owed and this and that, whatever. And still a paragraph or two after that, we went back to minority. So we're talking about the actual, this supposedly bill up here in California. And we're also talking about the indigenous people as that, they're getting louder and louder as the days go by, talking about reparations as well, too. They're starting to get a little bit louder and louder. And I'm starting to see both here in the United States and even in Canada, which, Canada's none of our concern, but I see up there that they're talking about reparations for the treatment of what they went through up there as well, too. So we're starting to get a little bit louder and louder from the actual indigenous people, and what they feel like they're also owed, because they feel like, hey, in their mindset, they feel like this entire country was theirs, and they're the national inhabitants, and that they should get something. So that's what we're speaking on tonight, guys. We want to hear our people come up here. We definitely had a good space last night, and we plan on having a nice one tonight as well, too. So we need our people to come on up here, share their thoughts, talk about the bill in California, talk about your thoughts in terms of the indigenous people and their claim on reparations. As always, we know in that article, I didn't even touch up on it because it was a pretty long article, but you got some groups out there, and you got a black dude out there, and I'm going to go through that article again when I get a chance. A black guy's out there, and he's actually got things going where he's actually trying to center, Native Americans and Black Americans into the actual reparation talk as well together. So let me go ahead and get to Original. Original, go ahead. You got it. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. How is everybody doing this evening?
We're doing good.
Hey, man. I think we need to really begin to collaborate with our scholars. Now, it is well documented. Everybody knows that black people are the first people on this planet, period. And so these people, they told these lies for so long, they still believe that it's true. And it has never been true. Black people are the first people on the planet and in this country. So these people who they call Indians or indigenous or whatever, they are not indigenous to this country.
It is well documented. And so I think we need to start looking at that. And since they, now it's interesting how they want to come at black folk. And you can thank Jim Crow Joe, because when reparations came up, how many of y'all remember when reparations came up back in 2020? He was during the primary, the racist, the anti-black racist, Jim Crow Joe, he pretended to support reparations. Then, when it was known that he would be the Democratic nominee, he said he would support it if the so-called Indians are included. And see, he started this. That's where this came from. And so now they're pushing. But like the brother that just spoke before me, they got reparations back in the '90s. So who do they think they are that they can pile their crap on our backs and double dip? And these people, and see, and I can tell you right now, these old broke Pan Africans, they would go along with some garbage like this, saying that, well, because see, if you remember, when Big Swole was running for governor here in Georgia, she did that same thing. She said that somebody asked her about, what she did now was this. Somebody asked her about reparations, and then she said something to the effect of, she said, well, and she said, and also the so-called, well, she didn't say so-called, but the so-called Native American. Well, the only Native American in this country are black folks. And even, Dr. Claude Anderson spoke some about the Folsom people out there on the West Coast. So I think people, they need to start, and then there's this guy, what's his name? Don something, he got one of those names, but this is a white guy, where he wrote that book, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. And this goes back, I think, to maybe even earlier than 15,000 BC, where they found these artifacts and they said the people that was in this country were black folks. And let's not forget Dr. David M. Hotep, his book, The First American Were Africans. So these folks need to be confronted because, see, it's us against everybody else. And there's another article, people can type, now if they want some money, here's what they need to do. There's an article, y'all remember when Elizabeth Warren was running around saying that she was part Indian? Y'all remember that? But see, LA Times conducted an expose, and the expose is entitled, Claiming to be Cherokee with White Ancestry. And they went very deep on how these white people, these $5 Indians, they are getting mega bucks in government contracts every year. And they was exposed. These people are white, just like Elizabeth Warren. But yet, when LA Times exposed them, there was no canceling of those contracts or anything of that nature. They're still giving them that money. So if they want some money, they need to go talk to them $5 Indians. Well, they $5 Indians too, And you look at some of these pictures, where you can find some of them on the internet. Those people who are called Indians, they are black. Yeah, they blacker than me. And they want to sit up here and see. They have run this scam for so long, to whereby anytime the word Indian come up, it's like, oh yeah, this their land. No, this is not their land. They were invaders too. Because his brother, he wrote in the book, I think it was called The Paleo-American, a primer on ancient American history. And he talked about that when he said that some of these Indians, they were complaining about something. And this white guy said, well, what y'all complaining about? Said, when y'all got here, there was people already here, and you were killing them, and they were black folks. See, nobody wants to touch that. But see, Jim Crow Joe is to blame for this. Anytime it has to do with us, they always want to try to throw a wrench in it. So this is why we have to arm ourselves with as much information as possible to make sure that that our reparations go strictly to us. And like you said, Newstoter, about this, I just pulled it up about this California bill to consider race, and like and when you said it had the word minority in there. Again, that's that trick language that they always use, and I tell people to be very careful about what you accept, because see, even the people that's supposed to represent us, like Big Swole, uh, they're not going to do anything for us. They're going to make sure that they uphold whatever the Democratic narrative. And it's no different. And let's be clear, it is not any different with the Republicans. They're just as bad. And we all see what the bootlicking Sambo Tim Scott is trying to do. And I wish his campaign would send me a text message. I'm gonna cuss their ass out and tell them where they can go and what they can do when they get there. I'm sick of this, because our own people won't stand up. And this fight is going to be won by the grassroots organizing across this country. And whatever little antics you may have with somebody else, get over it. It's time for us to organize and get what is owed to us. So I'm just saying, that we have to start, improving, gathering more information. And when this stuff comes out, no, the Indians are not the first people in this country. It's black folks. And that's going to shock a lot of black folks. Oh well, then too bad. It's not our fault that you were lied to, and you don't want to hear the truth. Like I tell people, see, they have this saying: if you tell a lie long enough, they say it'll eventually become the truth. No, it won't. If you tell a lie long enough, it is still going to be a lie, because it was never true. And see, when we start participating in garbage like that, things will begin to change. But as long as black folks continue to use whatever tropes everybody else is using, we're gonna still be stuck. Just like it was something else that happened. I'll give you a perfect example. This is what happened when it comes to us. Now, when Jim Crow Joe was running for the White House in 2020, he had two things on his platform. One was an agenda for the black community, and the other one was called Black America, whatever. And the other one was called Lift Every Voice. So when I read through those things, it didn't surprise me. He had all this ambiguous language like minority, people of color, low income, poor people, and like Dr. Anderson said, the humpbacks, the midgets, and the peg legs too. But what was not shocking as well, on his platform for the gay community, it had all through the platform, it had LGBT. He was demographic specific as to whatever laws and resources that would be disseminated, who would be the target of those laws and resources. And not only that, he also stated that he would use the Department of State to go after any country around the world if they was treating, gay people bad. And you see how he just fired up at Uganda, because Uganda said they're not accepting this, and there are some other countries in Africa saying, look, that's not our thing. From the rape that you done on the continent, maybe there's some kind of epigenetic transfer that was passed down to these people, and maybe that's why they are the way they are. So again, how the hell are you gonna go and tell somebody else how to treat people in their country, and hell, you don't treat us right in this country? This is some jacked up stuff, and it has continued on because we have jacked up people elected into offices, into positions that don't give a damn about us. They just go along with whatever platform, whether it be Democrat or Republican. And I'm not going to leave Republicans out because they just as bad. They're not going to speak up for us either. So this is just crazy as hell. And so this is why it is extremely important that, because I responded to something today, but it's extremely important that the grassroots get better organized so we can go after these people. Because I responded to something about, it was something to do with the black farmers. And And so what I did, I responded, and I let it be known that I would not be giving up anything, giving up a vote. Oh yeah, they're supposed to be allocating like $2.2 billion for the black farmers. And the person at the USDA, they spoke to this reporter, with anonymity. So that right there in itself lets you know they're not serious. And see, the black farmers have already said, if you're not going to help us, and it's called, I think, the National Black Farmers Association, and they're like 120,000 strong. So with that many people holding their vote, and you got us on the grassroots doing the same thing, there is no way the Democrats can win. They know that they will lose. So now, and then, so this thing with the farmers, they're saying that it's supposed to, the deadline is October the 31st of this year to file. But see, here's what I see where I see the trick come in. Okay, if they file before October 31st, how long is it going to take you to process that and get them that money? See, that's the issue. That's the question that I won't answer. How long will it take to process? Now, these people need money so they can do what they got to do on their farm. But yet, anytime it comes to us, they always want us to, it's like we have to share any and everything that we have with everybody else. But nobody has to share a damn thing with us. Well, I'm not sorry, but those days are dead. We're no longer operating that way. And if anyone doesn't like it, that is not my problem. You can take whatever issue you want with that. But I just want to say, people, we have got to do a better job at organizing ourselves, and we need to get something going whereby it is known that this is black, and it ain't for it's not for anyone else. Now, as far as this, I haven't had a chance to read that about the bill on sentencing, but I'm not surprised what you said about when they said it's for they threw the minority word in there. See, again, and what is so sad about this? None of our elected officials on the local, state, or national level, none of them will speak up and say anything on our behalf. See, back in 2014, I don't know if y'all may remember this, but Marcia Fudd, she's like the head of HUD now. So she was on a talk show, and I don't know, she had made this comment because it was on one of these black publications. But she made the comment something about she don't just represent black people. Now, at that time, I pulled up information, demographic information regarding her, the district that she was elected to represent up there. It was in Akron, Ohio. And when I looked at the demographics, black people outnumbered the white folks, Asians, and Spanish-speaking people put together. But yet she felt bold enough to stand up and say that she don't just represent black folks. And it's because of the black folks and the black ass got into office anyway. These people are foul and low down, and they all need to be kicked out. And see, the problem is that a lot of folks, they all mesmerized with their bull, and they just run back and keep voting for them all over, or they'll vote for someone that they like, or when they leave, if they leave the position and they say, well, I back this person here, and they vote for that person, and the same crap continues, just with a different person. And that's why it is important that we start pushing these people, and I say start pushing them tonight, because if we don't push them, they're not going to do anything, because they're going to say, look, these black folks are pissed off. They're already saying they ain't coming out to vote. If we don't get reparations, no, I'm just not voting, period. Plain and simple. Anybody can say what, it's like I had to tell somebody. They go, well, our ancestors. I said, look, do you know my ancestors? Do you know what my ancestors did, after slavery? Do you know how they fought to get their freedom? Well, until you know that, don't include me in your BS, because I don't belong there. And they get mad when I say that to them. So I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. let someone else come in. But I just had to say that people look for this book, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. And the other one is The First Americans for Africa. And it has been said what? Life began in Africa. So if life began in Africa, and then Africa migrated all over the world, how in the hell are these so-called Indians indigenous to this country? Explain that. Somebody please explain that to me. And I'll land with that.
All right, original. Thank you, thank you, thank you. DJ, go ahead. I know you got your hand up.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So getting the jumbotron, top left hand side, the second bubble in, and it's a tweet from Kim Tallbear, and in a four-way collage bubble of the photos, it says Biden and others, clueless white Dems, need to stop bringing up Native peoples into reparations convo. We have treaty and other rights. Reparations is not our avenue. They showed their historical and legal ignorance while they tried to deflect from Black people's demands. And obviously right there at the top right-hand side, shout out to the Union of Black America, it says Robert Purr, who sits on the board of directors for the Kansas City Indian Center, supports reparations in Kansas City. He believes Native Americans should also be included. Read more here, Kansas City News. And obviously you see he's cracking that. There you go.
All right. Appreciate that, DJ. Shout out to Brooke. I see Brooke over there in YouTube land as well, too. So what's up with you, Brooke? Real quick, like I was saying, we was talking about if everybody coming in here, we're talking about the indigenous peoples of not only California but the entire country now are trying to talk about getting reparations for what they believe to be the original host of this country. We're also talking about this bill in California, this bogus looking bill where they want to use black people as supposedly it's supposed to be something for black people, but it's also about minorities as well. To the California lawmakers passed bill for judges to lower sentences for black criminals over slavery. It's supposed to be something to counteract what happened with slavery, yet they're talking about minorities. So I'm not sure that's something that can really be taken too serious. The thing with the article about the indigenous people is from the Neo Jim Crow, and I'm just going to touch up on a couple just points real quick. It's titled "Reparations are Proposed for Black Californians, but What About Indigenous People?" And I found something really interesting in the article. You have this woman named Angela Mooney D'Arcy. She's supposed to be indigenous, Native American, and she's doing a lot of work out there through a nonprofit and everything else, advocacy, education. Of course, she's advocating for indigenous people. But here's just a situation that happened. Let me read this real quick. And this is about the Manhattan Beach, as we all remember, with the Bruces and them getting back the actual beachside property. But here's a little something in here I want to touch up on real quick. Just this and another quick point. It says the effort in Manhattan Beach to return waterfront property to the descendants of Willa and Charles Bruce showed the RC how hard it could be to expand the discussion around restitution to include Native people. The Bruce once ran a resort for black vacationers that served as a haven on the coastline that was largely off limit to people who looked like them, but it was seized through racially motivated use of eminent domain in the 1920s. When Los Angeles County officials were drafting a resolution on Bruce Beach in 2022 calling for the publicly owned site to be given back to the family, the RC wrote a letter to the Board of Supervisors expressing concern that the measures failed to recognize the indigenous people on whose sacred land and water Bruce Beach was established and who were violently forced and displaced from these homelands hundreds of years ago. The land was returned and the family subsequently sold it back to the county for nearly $20 million. But officials rejected the RC's amendment, acknowledging that the Tagova, I can't even pronounce it, were the original caretakers. So she actually ended up trying to write an amendment, and she was trying to also get the natives that she felt were also the original inhabitants of that land, that they were trying to actually get a piece of that land as well too. She was saying that the denial stung. Having amended it, it would have set a roadmap around the country, creating a standard whereby you can't perpetuate the common erosion of people who on whose land this is happening, the RC says. So while the Bruce's family was trying to for years trying to get that property back, she was trying to write an amendment as well to basically be included in there because she felt that her family and that the original indigenous people were displaced from that hundreds of years ago before that property ever was in the hands of the actual Bruce. This is I want to touch upon this real quick. Now we like I said, there's a black guy out there as well too by the name of Hop Hopkins, and he's working with the indigenous people as well as black. Hop is a black man, so I want to just touch up on this real quick. It says the RC's wish for a cross-cultural discourse is echoed by her friend Hop Hopkins, who is black, based in LA. He's the director of organizational transformation at the Sierra Club, the 130-year-old environmental group that in 2020 apologized for the anti-black and anti-indigenous remarks of its founder. We both recognize that our liberation is bound together, says Hopkins, 52. Like I say, Hopkins is a black man. I catch heat for saying this. He says, but we can achieve black liberation without acknowledging all the hurt that has happened in the United States. Hopkins uses the word from the Tongva language to draw an analogy. It means guess. I'm not even sure what the actual word is, so I'll just say it says guess. Because non-Indigenous Americans are, in a sense, the visitors of this continent, it is important to show respect towards the host, Hopkins says. That show of difference isn't a threat to black justice, he says, but rather an opening for mutual understanding. Black descendants of enslaved Americans like him have roots in indigenous African civilization. He says that they have resisted attempts to make them forget who they are and societies they came from. We ought to be talking to the original stewards of the land, beginning there instead. As to indigenous people encountering each other, one is a steward and one is a guest, Hopkins says. Our ingenuity is what connects us. Now, this is Hopkins. That was just Hopkins, Hop Hopkins, his personal opinion that we need to go ahead. And like I said, he's trying to actually set up some kind of brain trust with indigenous people in California and black people. And from his feeling, from what he's saying, that, that they're the original hosts, we're the visitors, and that we need to go ahead and try to incorporate them as much as possible as we can to go ahead and coordinate something with indigenous people and black people. Now he said he's called heat from that, which you can't really blame. Here's the thing that we constantly say: whenever there has been some things that have been set aside for Native Americans in this country, it has never included black people ever in this country. And I'm not trying to make light of the plight of Native Americans and what happened to them here, but whatever scraps or whatever resources they got from the United States government, it has never been tied into the black struggle. So I'm not saying that they don't deserve something, but I'm saying that we can't sit up here and simply say that, we're visitors here and, they're the original hosts and, we need to go through them. I can't really feel that straight up. Like I get what this dude's trying to say, but I can't really feel that because, like I said, we know about the Seminoles. We can take the Seminoles in Florida and how they went to Oklahoma, and everybody knows the history of how they were left out of everything. And these civilized tribes, when it came to break bread, these people, the black folks in these tribes that intermarried and everything else, went to war with them, fought against the United States government and everything else, didn't get so much as a thank you. So we just can't simply sit up here and just erase history and sit up here and say, that they're the original hosts here, and we're all visitors, and they should get everything, and we should go through them and this and that. No, I'm not feeling that. Fred, go ahead. I gotta get something to drink. But Fred, go ahead and unmute your mic. DJ, hold it down for 1 second. You're a professor.
Yeah, Fred, go ahead. No, Fred, you go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, what up, dog?
Yeah, don't forget that all 5 of them civilized tribes fought the South to maintain slavery. And then they came up with something called the Blood Quantum Law to make sure that black people did not get any of those benefits from the 1866 Indian Treaty. They had
Yeah, take your time. It ain't no rush, bro. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is true. Let's not forget a lot of these so-called Native Americans. I got my fingers up on your Fred, quote, 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 right? Y'all white. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no argument about that shit. But as long as we allow these people to cosplay the game, you feel what I'm saying? They always gonna say, well, you'll have a Jim Crow Joe saying, oh, well, I'll give you reparations as long as the natives get it. Well, who the hell are Native Americans? Same thing when a lot come over here because I'm just freestyling to you. You know what I mean? Hey, who the Native Americans in this country? Well, you're looking at one. That's what we should be telling these people moving forward. You are looking at the Native American because if we're talking anything after the Civil War, well, that's us. You know what I'm saying? We was here before that. The rest of y'all, we already not foreigners, you're colonizers. There you go. Hey, yeah, let me know when you're back on top too. So yeah, with that being said, again, get in the Jumbotron, we'll tweet the information. Come on up here. Make sure y'all sign up for social too, soxcial.com. The URL of that spelling should be back now. If not, it's Fund It Socially. Fund It Socially. Just like that, you know what I mean? .com. There you go. Funditsocially.com if you can't get on to the social.com. But from what I'm hearing from Brother Black Majority, just erase your browser history and clear the browsing data or whatever it is, and it should reset it or whatever. I haven't done it yet. I got too much stuff on my Google. I don't feel like logging back into all these sites that ain't saved. You know what I mean? It's like 3,000 of them too. So that's a lot.
Hey, what's up, man? I had to get something to drink. My throat dries. I don't know what, so I'm trying. Still kind of dry, but
juice, bro. You need juice right now. Someone is hot. Just wait. You need electrolytes. You know what I'm saying? H3O. Look it up, y'all. H3O. Go get some juice.
yeah, I just got got a little bit, but yeah, man, this dude here, the Hopkins cat here. I mean, that's wild, man. Like I say, I can feel for them as well too. And like I said, the simple fact, even with the Bruce's Beach and stuff like that, Bruce's Beach that was going on, that the indigenous woman, she went ahead and she tried to get an amendment so she can go ahead and pretty much say, before they ever had that property, this was actually indigenous land right here. So we should actually be entitled to it ourselves, or we should get a cut of it or whatever. That's what you're dealing with right now. Like I said, no matter how you slice it, you're gonna have indigenous people that feel like, well, hey, we're the original people here, and that we should get, we were here before anybody else. So everything that any piece of property that's built up in this country, we were here first, we lived on this land or whatever, this was ours or whatever. So we should be the ones that's actually receiving stuff first and foremost. So this may potentially and I know what a lot of black people, because a lot of black people like to go back to their family tree and they like to talk about that their grandma was Indian and this and that or whatever. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this stuff plays out down the road. Really interesting, because like Original said, and I've always had an issue with this right here, the whole out of Africa theory, that you're sitting up here and you're saying that this large migration from Africa happened and people went all over the world. And when these people went all over the world, everybody, I guess, turned either white, yellow, or red, but nobody kept their original color and stayed black or brown or whatever you want to say. Everybody, just metamorphosized into a whole nother race of people. None of these people kept their original color when they left. They went everybody, like every single solitary person that left changed colors. Nobody kept their original color. So I have an issue with that as well, too, like Original saying as well. And I know people saying that it can't be confirmed that, there were black people here before this or that or whatever, but they're already saying that black people or people that left Africa traveled and went through all over the world. So, what's the issue there? Unless you're saying that every single solitary person, pretty much went underneath some kind of genetic change or whatever. Nobody kept their original color. Everybody just changed colors, even though the pigment and the melanin in our skin is stronger than anybody else on the planet. Everybody just went and they became either white, they became Asian, they became something else other than black. So I'm having an issue with that as well too. And I know it hasn't been it really hasn't been established by most of these so-called scientists or archaeologists or whatever. Um, and you may never ever get them to actually come and say that as well too. But I'm a firm believer that black people travel all over this world, and that every continent on Earth they went to, and they were there. Any continent that you could live in, they were there. So I have an issue with this, and that's not to say that Native Americans weren't here for tens of thousands of years, because they were. I just believe that black people were here as well too. So go ahead, Shizm. I see you up here as well too, and we got other people up in the space too, guys. Y'all make sure y'all come on up here. We got a good discussion rolling tonight, guys. So y'all definitely come up here and support the actual space. We want to hear people, we want to hear everybody's opinion on this as well too. Like I said, because we're not only talking about the indigenous people out there in California seeking reparations. It's not just in California either. Like I say, this is gaining momentum nationwide, just like the whole reparation thing, just like reparations in general is gaining momentum worldwide. You got people from all over the world now talking about reparations, no matter what it is, no matter what continent it is on Earth, everybody's talking about it. Well, you're getting it right here in the United States in the form of indigenous people. We're also talking about this bill that California is supposed to be trying to pass. Talk about California lawmakers pass bill for judges to lower sentences for black criminals over slavery. But when you read the actual article and you read a lot of stuff, they're talking about minorities as well too, while using a lot of coded language that's supposed to be directed to black people as well too. So definitely for those that's up in the space that always come up and conversate, for those that are reparationists, those that live out there in California, for anybody that wants to come up here and speak tonight, because truthfully, the actual conversation tonight is actually kind of taking place in California, even though, like I said, the indigenous thing is taking place all over the country in terms of the indigenous people in Minnesota and all in different states talking about reparations. This is kind of taking place all over, and the bill that they're trying to pass out there in California, like I say, that's also a California thing as well too. So tonight, I guess you could say it's California love going on. So let me go ahead and give it to Cali love. Go ahead, you got it, Shizm.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was listening, trying to, you have to excuse me. I've been in the sun, so I have a little heat exhaustion. I said this yesterday.
H3O, Mr. H3O, go get you some sugar water. Something.
Oh, okay. I got some water. But I said it yesterday.
H3O is meaning an electrolyte, so you need juice, something with the juice in it. That's why sports jokers drink Gatorade. Go get you a Gatorade, yo.
Oh, okay.
And I would suggest drinking those fed off, drinking like some regular apple juice, some orange juice from the store. Gatorade got too many chemicals in it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Yeah, because I don't know. It seemed like when they want to give us some money, everybody want to put their hand in the bag. But I wanted to kind of touch on that color thing, that color theory. In the ISIS paper, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, I think in the first chapter, she touched on that theory, that out of Africa theory, that those two, the male female that migrated out and left out of Africa, and they went into the Caucasus Mountains. They were albinos, and they had been in those mountains for so long that they weren't able to breed with anybody else. And because they had bred together, the more that they bred, the less melanin that they had. And so that was, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but again, it's in the first half of her book. And when you go into the back of the book for the references, bibliography, she cites and gives her material from Germans. And because they did more studying on that issue than I guess apparently we did, but she did cite it. And it was just, I'm sorry. And so you have to go and read it, but that was one of her biggest things, that they had bred so that the absence of melanin and pigmentation in the skin had caused not just albinoism, but the continuation of white skin. And then there's a article that was done, I think, in the 80s. I don't know if anybody remember. I think her name was Jan. I think she had a husband. Her and her husband did a lot of study in Africa on the apes. But there was another research in regards to the pigments.
I think it's about Dan Goodall.
Yeah, her. That's her. Her. And but she there was another research about the pigments, and it was basically the same theory that once they migrated out of Africa, went into Asia, they became the Asian stock, and because they didn't continue to breed with other Africans or pigments, then then that's when they slanted eyes and hair and everything came into place. So they seen that the geographical location in the atmosphere in the hemisphere is what continue. Okay, you gonna have to excuse me because I'm just exhausted. Let me go get me some drink.
Okay, go ahead and take care of yourself. Let me go ahead and get to Phoenix. Phoenix, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, good day, Kelly Love. I'm concerned about you, and just get you some electrolytes and sit down and catch your breath, get some ice. You know what you having too much heat exhaustion. My stance is just going through you guys my paperwork. I'm sorry to get right into it because I got to run it somewhere. And hello to the host, the co-host, and the co-host, and the brothers in the room and the sisters. As we went through our lineage, lineage goes back. We back to the 1700s, and the people that were in my family that they were speaking to didn't mention coming on any boats. They were like 90 years old back in the 1700s. So the idea of, and we know that the Southeast had a lot of, and the Northeast had a lot of melanated native tribes, 572 of them to be exact, and they were the ones that were killed off the smallpox. It wasn't the red man. The red man lived mostly in the Southwest. That's where you see all of your Navajos and your Pueblos and your Anasazis and all of that. But in the Southeast, in the Northeast, were your melanated indigenous people. So, we didn't come over. We all just come over on boats. Just a small percentage of people. They don't even have the boats to show you. They have all these ancient boats, but you only got like one or two merchant ships talking about they were slave ships. It's not true. So it is my theory, and I posted a video of a young man who he is a Native American man that gives us our truth and gives us our truth with being Black Indigenous, with primary sources from the Library of Congress, from books and writings of Thomas Jefferson, talking about the people, how we looked Ethiopian when we came over, how we looked Indian when we came over, and they came over and they started exploring the land. So we've been here. We are prisoners of war. They took our land. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. So if they want to they try to erase our history, but we still have the mounds. We are all up in the Mississippi area, Delta area. We have Poverty Point. We have mounds in Ohio. We have mounds in Indiana. We have been here, y'all. And that's the history they try to erase. The reason why they don't want to give us anything is because they know they stole our land. They know this. They know that we're prisoners of war. That's why we have been fighting tooth and nail for this shit. And that's why we became slaves in the first place. off laying there. And those plantations, those were our homes. Okay, we have all kinds of ancient architecture all over this country that they hide, and they hide under the guise of government. You can't go here because of the government owned it, or some of that stuff is privately owned. So I just want to wake that up. Today is my Wake It Up Wednesday. So there we go. I'll land.
All right. Thank you, Phoenix. Thank you. Real quick, guys, up in the Jumbotron, we got the Newstoter YouTube channel up there. On the left-hand side, it is the what is that? Okay, it's an actual middle of the Jumbotron. The middle of the Jumbotron is a YouTube channel. If you guys have not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Also, for those that can support, please support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. For those that do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well too. We have the PayPal and Venmo up in the Jumbotron. For those that's on YouTube, we have all of those links up in the actual description, the Cash App and the PayPal and the Venmo. For those on Twitter that want to become monthly subscribers for just $3, go to our profile and click subscribe. Go to the profile and click subscribe. It's just $3 a month to support the actual Newstoter media curation platform. Once again, it's just $3 a month. And once again, the Cash App is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. I see we got some hands coming up, which is always a good thing as well too. So let me go ahead and get to Dr. No. Dr. No, how you doing?
Oh, thank you, but how y'all doing this evening?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic we have going on here. And like with the out of Africa theory, I've always was kind of curious about that. What I did was, I mean, like they see like Africa is the mother of civilization and the mother of all this and that. So I want to look up the oldest river, which is in the United States, the oldest dinosaur, which is in the United States. Everything that's old is in the United States, not in Africa. So I mean, Africa was the mother of civilization. When everything starts there, when it comes like these, I think they say the oldest skeletal remains of bone community found was in Ethiopia. But I really feel as if they have evidence. They have found bones here in America that are probably just older than those that are in Africa. They just don't want to divulge and say anything about it because really they don't want to divulge their existence. You know, these people never tell you where they are from. They always want to say that white people come from Africa. There's no evidence of that. I believe that people were created all over this planet, not just one person. There were people, because every time you look up when these people go to different places around this planet, you always find people there. It's not like they went there was nothing there. So I just don't believe the African theory. I believe that we are black in America. This is where we were from. We're not Africans. We don't look like you can look. Like another way, you can look at a person from Africa, Jamaica, Somalia, wherever. You can tell where they're from, except for us. But I know that we're from America. We're not African. Not to say anything bad about Africans, but I want to bring up us and not focus all the time on Africa. So these subjects that you keep bringing up, you need to be brought up more so that maybe more time we will be able to find the truth about our existence. We already know, but so that we can galvanize and come together as a people of America. That way we can galvanize and come together and find what we really need, which is our rights. And so I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I like the conversation. I'm just sit back and listen. And I appreciate you guys for what you're doing. Amen. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Real quick, I'm gonna get the plastic, but everybody, let's make sure too that we stay on the reparation thing and the actual bill as well too out there going on in Cali as well too. So let's go ahead. As long we can we can talk about the out of Africa theory and everything like that. As long as, like I'm saying, we're gonna go ahead and connect it to the actual back to the actual topic as well too. So let's definitely go ahead and keep focus on the actual indigenous reparations and the Cali bill and everything that's going out there in Cali as well too. So let's go ahead and keep focus on that as much as possible. If you want to connect it, you can go ahead and connect it as well too. But go ahead, Plastic. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and drop just because I'm happy you said that before I went because I don't have a connected back. I just had a question on something I heard, and I'll find a better time to pose that question. Thank you for hosting today, and always have a wonderful platform. Newstoter.
All right, appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it. Like I say, guys, we can. I mean, if you're gonna connect it to it, I mean, if you want to talk about, the odd African theory and your belief that Black people were here in this country and they're native to it, I don't have an issue with that as well, too. If that's what you're saying, I do believe there were Black people actually on this landmass as well, too. I believe that Black people also were transported in the transatlantic slave trade as well too. The number I have no idea, but I do believe there was a transatlantic slave trade and Black people were enslaved on those boats as well too. So I don't have an issue with that as well. So, but yeah, like I said, the story, the topic tonight, we see the topics. Let's go in. I see a bunch of our people down there. Like I say, don't be shy tonight. Y'all normally come up and speak as well too. I see my girl Dana's getting ready to come up here as well. So let me go ahead and kick it to Original. And then Original, I'm going to go ahead and get to Dana. And, oh, yeah, real quick, let me give a shout out to Iron Malt, too. Iron Malt, thank you for your contribution on Cash App, brother. I forgot to give you a shout out, but thank you. You got it, Original.
That means what I want to say there. See, years ago, it was on this site called Eurweb, EURWEB, and it was by this guy named Lee Bailey. He was like a news reporter or something back in the day. Now they produced this thing called the History of California Black. That part. Anyway, the History of California Black Nation, the Californians, the First Americans. Now, what I find interesting is this: the article is still there. But the article online now, they have removed all the images of these Black folks that they found in California. So this is why I know this brother, Brother Didon Camante, when I was in California, he taught me, get everything when you first see it while the getting is good, because when you go back to get it, it will be gone. They will bury it. So I just want to say, I just find this interesting that, and I hope our people in California are looking at this, diligently, because just because these people say that they are native to this country doesn't mean. And I'm in agreement too with the brother. I question a lot of stuff too. I understand his position on the outer Africa theory and all of that. I'm not mad at him. He shares some great information, and I'm not mad at it. But the world has been lied to for so long, and that and they believe this stuff. And see now, because I have the documentation where it's showing these people, these Black folks that was in California, that they found them, and now I went to that same site. They got some of the stuff up there, but all those images are gone. So what you have now, you have the cover up. They've been lying all along. So now, and Lee Bailey, he, I think it was called Urban something that he was on, some platform that he was on. And he was I don't know if he's still alive or not. But anyway, you begin to see how quite a number of these Black folks that have these platforms, but their main concern is being accepted by the enemy. So they will begin to hide things and cover up because more than likely they are being paid. But a lot of these folks, I don't trust. But me myself, I don't trust the majority of these high-profile Black people because they are not with us. They don't. All they want us to do is buy whatever it is they're selling. Go watch their TV show or go to the movies or whatever. They don't. That's all they care about. They don't give a damn about us. But I just want to share that how this has begun, how they have started to change this. The article is still up there. It's called History of the California Black Nation. Californian. It's spelled with C, then in parentheses it's got K. It says the first American. But they have deleted, they removed all those black images of them black, all them images of those black folks. Now I find this beyond interesting. How are you gonna take out the images? Now, if you search for it, you can click on images, and you might see some of them. But the actual article, they have already removed those images from that article. That's a damn shame that these people are going to continue to lie like that. So this is why it is very important that we archive stuff ourselves. I don't care if you have to go through something and take a screenshot, and then scroll up, take another screenshot, put it in a Word document, and save it. I don't care what you have to do, but you got to start. If you haven't started already, you have to start documenting, because this is bizarre, right here. I mean, this article was up, for years. I used to pull it up all the time and show people, but now when I pull it up, all the images are gone. Interesting, and I'll land with that.
All right. Thank you. Tomorrow night, guys, we got a space. It's up in the Jumbotron on the far right hand side. It's gonna be about it's a number of incidents going on with these Karens. It's gonna be titled the Karen Space. It is titled the Karen Space, so y'all make sure y'all come out. I'm gonna highlight, document a number of issues and things going on with these Karens today or whatever. So that's up in the Jumbotron on the far right hand side. You guys get a chance, go ahead and retweet it out while the space is going. But tomorrow night will be the Karen Space. It will be the Karen Space. It's titled Karen Space. Karen's gone wild. So definitely make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. We know the actual height of Karens. They really took off during the pandemic. They exploded. And sadly, they haven't gone anywhere. They're still here, and they're still cutting the fool as well, too.
It was a Becky's, though. Remember, it was a Becky's, then the Karen.
But Karen done took over, though. The Karen, the Karens took over, though. Like, so we got to go ahead. I guess we could do a Karen and a Becky space in hell.
Yeah, a Becky and a Karen, because see, from what I've been told now, the way they do it now, a Becky is going to be like the younger.
Yeah, the Becky, the younger one. You got Becky, then Karen, and then I guess you have a Susan or a Mildred or whatever. But Karen's but everything you see is about Karen. You don't see Becky. They don't highlight Becky no more. It's all about Karen. You know, Beyonce give her shout out. She did talk about Becky with the good hair, but you know, it's just pretty much the Karen. So we'll see, Professor. We may have to go ahead and put Becky up in there too. But all the articles about Karen though. So I don't know. I gotta see if I can find some Becky stuff, but we'll see what it's about though, man. We'll see what it's about. Let me go ahead and get to Dana. Dana, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, it's a nice discussion, but I mean, I think a lot of people don't really care too much for the indigenous hollering and screaming, because this is not nothing new. It just so happened, this is, I guess, the indigenous reparations. This is taking place in California. I didn't even know they had a lot of sacred land there, but I think the issue is with the indigenous people, because they have sacred land that is considered their own sovereignty, they think that they are entitled to Black American reparations. And a lot of times our reparations have nothing to do with land. You know what I'm saying? It has to do with actual labor. A lot of private sector companies owe us reparations as well as state and federal government. So how are they? I think I didn't read the article. I'm gonna go back and read it. But how can you make a claim saying that you should be included in Black Americans' reparations unless it's solely on the basis of land? And I'm pretty sure the California Task Force, Reparations Task Force, is not just about land. That's probably like a portion, a small percentage of the reparations for Black Americans in California. So, what claim do indigenous really have legally if it's not outside of land? And I think that's something that needs to be explored. Yes, you were given land and we weren't, but there were a lot of Black Americans who did own land that was not on Indian or indigenous sacred ground, and it was taken from Black Americans, not just their homes, but actual land, and not just, but in other states, especially Texas, Oklahoma. Of a lot of the oil companies that are in existence today. So again, I didn't read the article yet, but under what premise are they claiming reparations that they would think they need to be included with ours?
Well, it's not so much that they're saying that they need to be included with ours. They're saying that they're also entitled to reparations. They're saying basically, don't forget them. Like, we understand that you're trying to do stuff for Black people and this and that or whatever, but they're saying that even some of the land that was actually taken from Black people, like the Bruce's Beach and whatnot, they're saying some of this land that was actually taken was already preoccupied for hundreds of years before that by their actual tribes and stuff like that as well too. So they're saying that a lot of these institutions and places and stuff that they built on were built on sacred lands and everything else, and it's trying to say that they were the original people in this land. So that if we're going to go ahead and give reparations to this person or that person, we're also deserving of them as well.
Yeah, but okay, so where were their lawsuits? And so that would be a question that I would ask these groups of indigenous people in the state of California. Well, where were your lawsuits? Where were your task force, right? Your reparations task force, specifically for your group prior? Why are you just raising your hand now and speaking up now when we have a reparations task force for Black Americans, Black Californian residents? So, you know what I'm saying? So if this was so sacred and you were on that land, yes, you were prior to the white man coming, but guess what? Before America was America, they slaughtered you, they killed you, and then after America became America, and fast forward to when they decided that this portion of your sacred land can be yours legally. See, the U.S. government divvied out to them what they could continue to keep, what land they can continue to keep sacred, part of their reparations, and they got all the damn casinos, so they have a lot of stuff, but it's what the government allowed them to have. So just because that was your land, this whole nation was your land before the white man came, you were only given a certain amount of that land back to claim as sacred. So again, that particular, I guess, whatever beach or whatever they're saying, well, this was our land, well, this whole nation was your land. You were killed off it or removed from it, and the white man claimed it, and we had Black people, I guess, work on it, or however it came to Black people owning it legally under the United States, but that was taken away from them illegally because they were Black. So that's a stronger case under our government, state and federal, as opposed to you saying, well, because we were here first before the white man, then we need to, this is ours. And it doesn't work like that. But again, where was your lawsuit? Where was your complaint prior to 2023? Where were you kicking up dust? Where's your 1,000 page, reparations plan prior to 2023? And if you don't have one, then why are you speaking up now? Because are you trying to halt or try to halt or talk against Black people getting reparations? I'm not sure the percentage of indigenous people in California, but I'm pretty sure the Hispanics and the Mexicans outnumber them. So is it really, is this just an article that they were able to pay a news article to write something up about their complaints? And I think that's all it is, like nobody's not going to take that shit seriously.
All right, Dana. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know whoever.
Newstoter.
Hold on. Hey, hold on real quick. Who's that speaking? I heard somebody speaking real quick.
It was Max. I could just give her some answers to what she said.
Okay, Max, give me 1 second because we got quite a few people ahead of you, but I'm gonna go ahead and get to you as well too. So, Carlos, go ahead and unmute your mic. Is Carlos up there? Carlos, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Peace to the room. I just wanted to. I threw this out there in another space, but being that the Supreme Court that they can't do anything based on race, Native Americans, or however you want to call them, they identify as a racial group. So do the Jews. So shouldn't they now repeal the reparations that they've been getting all this time? I mean, if you can't do anything based off of race, they are a specific racial group. So shouldn't they be able to repeal that decision and, take away that money that they've been given and give it to us and reallocate it to us? I'll land it. That's all I wanted to do. Throw that out there.
All right, thank you, Carlos. Let me go ahead and get to I think Robbie. Robbie, were you next? Robbie, go ahead and unmute your mic.
No, I think the hands down. With C from.
No, C from just came up last, so it'll either be Heats. It'll be Heat. It might be Heat Cloud. Yeah, Heat.
Yeah, it was Heat Cloud.
Heat Cloud. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I appreciated everybody in the room. I just, wanted to back Dan up with what she said. This comes off like as a piggyback or, the dominant society trying to, Ponzi scheme like they did the Asians to try to attack us and slow us down on what we got going, which, I did look up the article that guy was referring to by the first people in America, and I seen exactly what he was saying. But if you do go to TikTok, they still have all of that information up. Everything is still documented in TikTok, and that's the big hiccup that America has right now. Referring to all of this information that's still coming out is the reason they're trying to ban it as well, because they can't control who do or what goes on with TikTok. And like I said, we have been, our story is very unique in itself, because no one's ever, been colonized and in chattel slavery and survived all of the harms and atrocities that happened to us. So, like I said, we are specific and a unique lineage, and this is nothing more than a nothing burger. They'll throw everything that they can in the midst of us trying not to get reparations, saying, "Oh, we took a toll to see if seven out of 10 Americans are for it." I mean, nobody did that when it came time for the Jews to get their reparations. So why are they doing it when it comes time to us to get ours? It just doesn't make sense to me. And with that, I land my plane. Peace and love to the room.
All right, appreciate it. Let me now, Robbie, go ahead and let me get to you, and then I got you, Max.
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine short and sweet. I think the brother who just made that point about things not being reversed, like in other words, doing a reverse Uno on the racial claim of other groups if they want to play that game, I thought that was pretty clever. I just wanted to build on to what Dana was saying. It's kind of like a heavyweight title bout. When your belt is on the line and you lose, you lose the belt. That's it. They got their land taken from them because they fought and they lost, plain and simple. And they chose to negotiate and settle for reservations instead of fighting to the death. There was no America at that time. America was expanding and becoming what it is. Like everybody's saying here, our thing is about stolen labor and genocide. You know what I mean? And in that order. So I think that's really the difference. It's not necessarily a land claim. Now, based on what they promised some of our ancestors with the 40 acres and the mule, or some of their other documentations and treaties that they reneged on, that's a whole nother story. But anything that they have written and documented, then we definitely got them by the balls, basically. And I think that's why they're panicking and trying to weaponize identity politics against us, kind of trying to have like a reverse civil rights movement, you know what I mean, with white supremacists playing dumb and making it seem like they're discriminated. and doing like what they did with the Asians, every now and then just tell somebody, stop playing persons of color and say you're persecuted by anything that's a win for us. And I'll let my point.
All right. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get to Max. Max, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, peace to the host, peace to the co-host. Yeah, so a few things, and I'll probably be jumping all over. So, starting from the back to the front. So, one of the large things for those in California, their reparations also come in the form of casinos. So they do have a lot of Native American tribes here in California. They have access to gaming, so that's one of the forms of the reparations that they have. The other thing is, I know quite a few folks that are from indigenous tribes out here in California, and they're very, supportive of Black Americans. They're also fully aware that a lot of Black Americans come from indigenous tribes, the Southeast Woodland. A lot of times they have conversations with the chief of the Amasi. So, got to know that the folks out here aren't anti-Black in any capacity in that sense. The other thing is they have been fighting for reparations. A lot of the times Gavin Newsom and the state awards them in different varieties. So they recently got $300 million to buy back land, right? So they've been given money so that they can buy back their land. The other thing is that specifically if you talk about where I live, they went through massacres. So if you know about San Francisco, you know about the missions, right? And you know about how Stanford was created. Essentially, they came here, they sent everyone to the missions in San Francisco, and they killed them off, sent them to residential schools, and forced them to work, and they went through that type of slavery. So they had been fighting for their claims, for their own claim. I did read that article about this lady. I was a little bit confused because I follow heavily of what goes on in these indigenous communities, and like I said, they have casinos. They recently got $300 million to buy back their land. So I think it was just a little bit more so that whoever this person is might not be reaping the benefits of the casinos or all these different services that are coming down that they have access to. But they have, for instance, like a truth and healing circle where a lot of the tribal chiefs and ladies they sit around this and they advise the governor on what they should do. But right now they have money to buy back the land, and like I said, they have access to the casinos.
All right. Thank you, Max. Let me get to CFRM. CFRM, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on, Newstoter? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
I just wanted to chime in on the Native American situation. Those people are basically Chinese. They're the ones who crossed over here, Bering Strait. They're immigrants. That's what they are. I heard some people claiming that everybody's immigrants here, but we ain't Siberia. Anybody in these higher positions claiming that we are immigrants, I look at them sideways. I don't know what they got going on. I look at them. There's a reason why they're in certain positions of power. But those Native Americans are Mongoloid Chinese, pretty much. They were trying to escape Genghis Khan, and they came over here. We was in the South, over there. That's where we were. And then we met up with them, and they always sold us out from day one. That's the reason why they're in this now, getting this reparations, because their goal is to betray us once again. We was living together, but we was warring with the people. That's what's going on with the Native Americans. They all pale too. If you check the records, American copper color ain't none of them copper color because they got in bed. They are the reason for taking deals with the Trilatiers. They're the reason for the Dawes rolls, Eastern Band, Cherokee rolls. They're responsible for signing all them people up for $5 and our land getting awarded to them because they were the cowards. They were the ones who fled. Those Native Americans, I know you record this page. They are the ones who fled. They were the original fleers. They were the ones living in teepees and all that other shit like that. It wasn't us. That was them. They're making a movie. Martin Scorsese is directing. It's called based on the true American story. It's called The Flowers That Kill. I can't recall. But look it up. Martin Scorsese is directing the film, and it's going to show those pale-faced Native Americans along with the so-called white people, Caucasian. And they go, and in the trailer, you're not going to see one dark face in the trailer. It's a very interesting trailer. It's eye-opening. Just let you know, them pale-faced Native Americans, they are not our people. They're also our ops. So when we say we ain't got no allies, that includes them too. Those is not our people. Them is from over there. We have different hair too. All that straight hair talk and all that. There's a lot of lies in these books, textbooks. But if you know the migration pattern of them people from Siberia that like to claim that we all the same, no, we ain't them. We're not them. They are not us. They are fleers. We are not. We were builders. They were running from being enslaved. So that's what I'm laying down with this whole Native American thing. It's the reason why there's pending lawsuits now for those damn tribes, because they won't let the darker melanated ones get the restitution in the land. They won't allow that to happen. So they still got the stuff pending. Also, since they're claiming Native American, they're claiming the nation of America. That's why they're giving them stuff. That's what they're doing. They're doing it by way of assuming someone else's identity. And I'm going to land right there. You ain't got to believe that. Look at what you said.
Hey, I'm just listening, cuz I'm just listening. I mean, one thing about the space here, people come up here on the microphone. I just pretty much pretty much let them go ahead and say what they got to say. So I'm just listening. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna pretend that I know history like that. I don't. I'm just be honest. I don't exactly know. We taught one thing, and that's pretty much one thing. You have to try to unlearn certain parts of history and stuff like that. So I can't sit up here and tell you one way or another. I have no problem saying that I'm ignorant to certain things in life. So, I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't totally know exactly the history. You can't know the history because you weren't there. I mean, just being honest. Like everything that we taught, we're taught it. It's passed along to us. So I don't exactly know what was what. I've always been told, and I'm sure most of you too, growing up and stuff, that like you say, the Bering Strait, people it's supposed to be something 10,000 years ago at least or whatever. I know you said Genghis Khan, but I mean it would have been even before it would have been even before Genghis Khan or whatever. So it would, 10, 20,000 years or whatever they claim that Native Americans walked over here across the Bering Strait and populated this country, whatever. Even the Bering Strait seemed, even that sound far-fetched. When I used to hear that as a kid, I'm like, well, how long was the Bering Strait? How long did it reach into the Americas from Asia? But, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Listen, I'll take all the information, because there's information that's saying that, well, their claim is 10,015. Ours is actually 50 to 75,000. So this is all about who was here first. And the Native Americans have teamed up with who, teamed up with them damn people to undermine us and shit on them. And that is factual right now in 2023. Because you even have some of them saying, go back to Africa. And these are, what do they call them? Native Americans? Yeah, okay. Some of them are even doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't put nothing past none of these people, especially politicians, governors, mayors, judges, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody check the record.
Well, here's my thing. I'm worried about reparations for Black people. If the United States government wants to give other groups reparations and stuff, as long as it's not dealing with us and as long as it's not before us, I don't have an issue with it, whatever. Like if they want to give these other groups reparations and stuff, as long as you're not taking from us and you're not putting them in front of the line before us, and it's not going to impact us, hey, it's whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't atrocities and massacres done to different groups of people, and that it wasn't atrocities and massacres done as well to the people that call themselves Native Americans. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but like I said, as Dana was saying, and I don't know, because Max, he seemed to pinpoint some things where he was saying that, that what they went through and this and that or whatever. I do know, and I know Dana was saying, that they had that land taken and this and that and stuff before the country was, pretty much, I think she was saying before it was actually the United States was the actual country, but even after the United States became a country, they did break treaties and stuff like that with them and out there in the West as well, and this and that or whatever. But like I say, I don't have an issue. Like I say, my first and foremost, I want to see Black people get what's owed to them. I can't really worry about every other group. Now, in the United States, if they want to cut checks for these other groups, because when they did cut checks for these other groups, they never included us in any of it. So I don't want anybody else included with anything that's rightfully owed to us as well, too. And that's no hard feeling towards these other groups. But, whenever your people got benefits and got resources, it never included Black people. No matter, even when we was at the bottom of the barrel, they found a way to go ahead and bypass us. So I don't want anybody sitting up here saying, well, if Blacks got to get it, because that seems to be the reoccurring theme in American history. Well, if the Black people got it, we got to get it too. We deserve it as well too. So no, we'll get it on our own, and you can get it on your own as well too. We don't need to go ahead and bring anybody in. And like I say, no hard feeling to any other group out there. But I'm just concerned about one group at this point in time. Those that was the actual descendants of chattel slavery in this country, they're the ones that's owed a debt, and that debt is not to be shared and included with any and everybody else in this country as well too. And I know that may be hard. They may cause hard feelings throughout the country with quote unquote the minorities in this country, but that's tough. We got to worry about us first and foremost, and then, like I said, once everything's been divvied up and we got ours. If the United States want to go ahead, because let's be for real, they give money to everybody else all over the world and this group and that group or whatever. If they want to give money and resources to other groups, hey, I got nothing to do with it. But first and foremost, you make sure you cut that check for us. And it's not an all inclusive. It's not for everybody. It's not we are the world. It's not the rising tide lifts all boats. It's not trickle down. It's none of that. It's not any of that. It's no kumbaya in this one right here. The kumbaya moment ended in the 60s with the civil rights movement. This is just strictly for us. We need to be like that old t-shirt, the old company back in the day, for us, by us, the old FUBU shirt. Worry about us first and foremost, and then let everybody else worry about themselves, because all these other groups worry about themselves first and foremost. They don't care about uplifting any other group. Their main concern is them and their people. And like I said, the indigenous reparations, this thing is starting to pick up. It's starting again. And if what Max said, if Max, I'm sure you probably know about it, you research or whatever, but what he said, think about what he said. He's saying that a lot of the land and stuff that was gone, that they've given them grants and stuff to go back and buy the land. Okay. Think about that. That is reparations right there. How many times have they given Black people money to go back and buy the land that they stole with eminent domain and everything else that they've done to screw Black families over? Like, every Black family has a story of losing acres in their family, just getting railroaded. So how many times have they given Black people the damn money to go back? Oh, we're going to give y'all grants and you go back and buy this and this and that. Every Black family has a story where they've lost tens, if not hundreds of acres in their damn family. Somebody in their family was a big damn landowner, and these white folks couldn't stand it the way it was and had to go ahead and always had this mindset, oh, niggas doing better than I am, and got to go ahead and get what they got. So if you can go ahead and you can cut land, if you can cut grants to go ahead and buy land for Native Americans, this is something that should be given to Black folks as well too. Look how long it took the people of Bruce Beach to go ahead and get their property back. They sold it. Look how long it took. Look over that with these people that's over 100 some years old with Black Wall Street, Tulsa. Don't want to give them anything. People find a way to go ahead and screw these people over right here. You got a person 109, 108, 103, and they still don't want to go ahead and give the people actual justice. Still, they cut checks left and right in this country and still don't want to give the people. No, it impacted. No, this is the same people that sit up here and tell you that, well, you weren't a slave, so you're not entitled. Well, these people are actually born in it and witnessed it. Some of them actually witnessed this and still don't want to give them the damn money and give them land and everything else back. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and get to Phoenix. Phoenix, and I got you, Dana.
Thank you, Newstoter, and you're absolutely right. And I think the missing part of why they are just so reluctant to give us anything that is the missing part of the puzzle. We need to do a deep dive into the history and see exactly what happened. Because this is, I mean, it's just a thing that, you know, it's just, they just kick and scream and, you know, shout and do everything to undermine us. There's a reason for that. And I truly believe because we've been here. You know, the Native Americans get like, you know, just for housing, $2.2 billion a year. Then they get money for the interior. Then they get money for education. There's money that they're getting. And like Matt said, that person is probably just not a part of that. But they are papered up. You hear me? Papered up. Plus they have the casinos that we actually go to and play. So there's really no claim to that because they're being taken care of all the time. Every year they get, I'm just gonna call it 50 billion every year for them being Native American. So there's really no claim there. And like I said, truly, like Matt said, if that woman or person is complaining about not getting or getting land and this and that, they got $300 million in California just to buy their land back. I mean, they, like I said, they get money. That's from California. Then you have the federal money, you know, that they get every year. So no, there's no claim there. It's all about what we need. And I'll land there. Thank you.
All right, Phoenix. Now, Phoenix, that's the most clear I heard you in a minute. Like you were definitely like your phone seemed like it was a lot louder this time right here.
You know what? I have to take it off of my car because I'm in a car. It just wants to automatically connect to the Bluetooth, and I think every time I'm in the car, it sounds funny with Twitter. So I have my ear.
Okay, yeah, because you sound.
I will post the message in the jumbotron if you want me to.
Go ahead, you can post it. You sound a lot louder this time though, so I'm glad to hear you because you was definitely a lot louder. Let me go ahead and get to and also guys, remember for those that can donate on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. I haven't checked the actual YouTube to see if we got any subscriptions tonight, but please, it's up in the middle of the Jumbotron. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can go ahead while the actual space is going on. You can go right over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're growing the YouTube channel, so please definitely go ahead and subscribe to that as well. Once again, for anybody that can contribute on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. If you got $1 or $2 that you don't mind contributing to the largest Black-owned, Black curation platform today in America, it is greatly appreciated. Once again, $Newstoter. And if you do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. Make sure, guys, that you visit Newstoter.com daily. Newstoter is the largest, once again, Black curation platform today in America. If you want to stay up to date on breaking news in Black America, just go to Newstoter.com. And we're like an encyclopedia of all the news and stuff that's going on in America. So definitely go ahead and you can stay up to date. Guys, if you go in there and you, depending on the type of browser you have, you may have to disable your pop-up blocker because some of your phones may not allow you to click and see the entire article. So keep that in mind as well, too. But make sure that you put Newstoter.com, that you make that a bookmark. Large source of content and information that you need to go ahead and see daily. Everybody that's in the space that's a Newstoter follower, you guys need to go to the actual platform and the website as well too. A lot of times people tag me in actual articles and it's right there. I've already tweeted out, or that's on the actual website. So definitely go ahead, and you can also we got sharing icons on the actual site as well too. You may see an article that you feel worthwhile. You may want to go ahead and tweet that and share that out, or send it on Facebook or Pinterest or whatever, and go ahead and send it as well too. So definitely check out Newstoter.com. Like I said, the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Entertainment, news, culture, lifestyle, education, business. Pretty much the whole shebang, guys. Make sure you go ahead. We're curating, and we're a website that is powered off of Black content, Black-owned newspapers, Black bloggers, Black female bloggers, the entire thing. So the whole shebang. So make sure you go to Newstoter.com. As a matter of fact, the actual topics for the night come directly off the website. Shout out to one of our curation partners, Neo Jim Crow, as well too. Neo Jim Crow for going ahead and supplying us with these articles as well, too, that we're covering the actual topics tonight. So, like I say, we are the curator. Let me go ahead and get to Dana. Dana, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Is it? You said me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Are you about to close your space out?
No, you go ahead.
No, I was asking because I spoke to you before your space, and I told you I wanted to say something that had nothing to do with the topic, and you said I could.
Oh.
And I kind of wanted to wait it towards the end,
Well,
so I didn't know
okay.
how long you plan on having the space open.
I ain't gonna be on too much longer, so I'll go ahead and let you know when I get ready to close it out. Then, in case you want to save it for the end.
Should I say what I want to say now, or wait until you close it?
Let me let Heat go ahead and then yeah, Heat, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes, sir. I also wanted to say they probably should tread light because of what they're also how they portray is, and also I forget the guy's first name, but his name was Sotomo or Toto, something of that nature. And he put in his journals when they approached this land that the Indians that they encountered were dark copper tone people. Which that guy did say in the Mongoloids, they don't have the same DNA, or they did come from the Canadian Pisanella by way of Russia. So yeah, Russia and China. That their DNA is entwined, and once you look at the DNA and stuff, a lot of that stuff does come to light. So I mean, like I said, you go on this TikTok and TikTok reveals a lot of this stuff. All you have to do is type it up, and the algorithm just keeps giving you every bit of information that has kind of been erased in America. Well, on these apps that we're using, like Facebook, Google, all these things that that the dominant society controls. And I mean, I want to put this. I am playing with this. The conversation would change if everybody was on board and knew that if this was our land originally, if we were indigenous to this land, the conversations about who could be here and who could occupy it would kind of change. That's why they're trying to remove us from this property and this land like that. They don't want us to know that we're the dominant people who control this land, and that this is where we came from. We did not integrate or migrate here or get off on no boats. So we're ingrained with this land, and that's what they're trying to take. And I land my plane there. I love everybody in the room. Peace and love.
All right. Appreciate that, Heat. Thank you. Professor, I hadn't heard from you in a minute. Anybody wants to come up here and speak to? Because like I said, we're not going to wait much longer before we close the space out. Holy crap. Look at who we got here coming up here to speak, y'all. Holy crap. Well. It ain't Shepherd Wolf. Shepherd. What's going on, Shepherd?
Yo, peace. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up, man?
Give me a minute. Let me put my headset on. I'll be right back.
All right. Take your time. Look who done decided to show up, DJ and Professor. None other than Shepherd. This ought to be I definitely got to hear what Shepherd got to say on this one right here tonight. Shout out to all you guys. Make sure y'all, like I say, y'all up in the Jumbotron on the right-hand side is a space for tomorrow night. Go ahead and tweet that out. It's the Karen space. Make sure y'all come through for the Karens. We got a number of articles we're going to talk about the Karens also. Definitely. What?
I can't wait on that one now. I can't wait for that one. Sure.
These Karens are out of control, boy. What's up, Shepherd? You got the headset on or you good?
Yeah, we in full effect.
Well, you got it.
Yeah, what did I miss earlier?
Oh, well, we were just
been going on for a while.
Yeah, the time is 8:00 how we started up here, man. But we've been talking about the indigenous people in California, not only California, but around the country now are kind of trying to drum up the actual reparation claim as well, too. We've been talking about that. And we also was talking about this bill in California that they're trying to pass. California lawmakers passed bill for judges to lower sentences for Black criminals over slavery. So that's pretty much, and they're talking about passing this bill about slavery or whatever. about trying to reduce the actual sentences.
Gotcha. I'm in Cali right now, 7:08 right now for me. So I'm all fucked up on the time shit coming from the East Coast. So I forget how late it is for y'all. But California's built one new college, and maybe the brick and mortar college in probably the past 20 years. They put about 35 prisons in the past 25 years. So that's going to tell you about how much Cali gives a fuck about reparations for criminals, as you put it, you know. So I don't think that shit got a flying fucking past at all, period. Cali is a very front-facing liberal state with a real mean Republican underbelly. Real mean Republican underbelly. It's just hidden real well. And even the liberals in California, a lot of people call them blue dog Democrats, but it's not a popular way to face the public for the liberals in California. But they on some NIMBY shit, not in my backyard out here when it comes to anything dealing with poverty. And California has zoned and pushed its homeless population to the brink of the areas and the city blocks until the population has just exploded. California's legislature has been negligent and protected its citizens for years, and you can just take race out of it. It's more about class here, from what I can see. And like I said, I was a tourist. Every time I came to Cali about 70 times. Every time I came here on some tourist shit. So I didn't really see the underbelly. But when I bought my property here, yeah, I see it. I was like, oh, okay, this is the real California now. You know, you got to be outside. You got to talk to people. You got to get to know communities. And once I did that, I had a whole different view of Cali. So I don't see that shit passing at all. Nor in some cases should it, right? Are we taking this shit a little bit too far? You know, like we want somebody who's black, who had a tough, like a childhood, who raped somebody's mother to get off because of reparations. Like, what are we doing here? You know, so then you automatically know that the bill would be reduced to non-violent felonies. Nobody's passing no shit like that. You can't even get an education in prisons. How you gonna get reparation in prison? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Also, these are workarounds, right? For the fact that California's probably never, and this is my opinion, and I don't care who don't like it. You already know how I get that. I don't feel California is giving out cash, period. And again, the reason I say it is because I'm not somewhere else. I'm here. And they just put a $4 billion bill. I could be wrong on the number, but it's billions, to build all this housing for the homeless. And it took like 6 years for the first apartments for the homeless, houseless, whatever, to get online. 6 years after putting billions, throwing billions at homelessness. In fact, in Cali, homelessness has increased by 10% after throwing the money at it. So you figure by the time all this shit get through the legislature and the courts and all that shit, homelessness in California gonna be a fucking 30% increase. And the courts really ain't giving a fuck. If it wasn't for COVID, so many more people would be on the street. They had to do a moratorium on evictions. And right now, Cali courts is flooded with black people getting ready to get evicted, and times is tough. So it's a lot of other priorities in front of cash reparations for them. Do I want people to get, of course, but for them, for the people that's making the decisions, shit like a dog and pony show, because they got this huge program out here. They throwing billions at, and they ain't even budging the program. And they not just gonna skip over these homeless. These homeless groups are strong out here, like real strong. Strong, organized. They got political clout. They really out here, like on the ground, putting pressure on politicians, and they ain't even making no progress. How the fuck is we gonna just skip the line? We not. It's just politically not. And then the second most powerful group of left-leaning people out here in Cali is the environmental group, and they super strong too. And they talking about the poisoning of the rivers, poisoning of everything, land, everything, like reparations for the land, and they ain't making much progress either. And I land with this. So that shit's like a pipe dream to me from what I'm looking at on the ground. And the second part about reparations reparations for what did you say again? Reparations, race and sentencing.
No,
Yeah,
this is
I
the
don't
this is
respect.
this is the indigenous reparations. Indigenous
Oh,
people talking about
indigenous.
reparations.
Boom, boom. Let me break that down. So what the Department of Interior? All right. So back in the days, the Department of Interior was like the CIA. That's where all of these other government agencies in America came from. The Department of Interior. You can look it up. It's one of the oldest agencies in America. But they was more like the CIA. They was more the ones that was spying on the Indians, counting the Indians, doing all type of like COINTELPRO against the Indians and shit, and trying to, it was like the movers and shakers of how the Indians got in this situation on the Reds, right? The Bureau of Indian Affairs, sort of like the Freedmen's Bureau, right? Their doctrine was enumerate and conquer, or something like labeling the people, finding out who your enemy is, dividing them, and then conquering them. This was the strategy of the Department of Interior. To this day, the Department of Interior and all these other agencies have been persecuting the Indians in California, taking their land, telling them how much cattle they can have, how much animals they can have on their farms, stealing their water, cutting their water off at dams, doing all. Not that it was. I'm not talking about back in the day. I'm talking about the last 50 years. They have been persecuting the Indians in California. Like you wouldn't even believe this shit. I don't even believe this shit. Like I know our shit is dire, but they shit is dire too. Like they really been at their neck. And I know they get a check or whatever, but these niggas, check or not, they got their foot on this Indian's neck in California. And it's bad all over the country, but it's bad in the West. So should they go after their claim? Fuck yeah, it has shit to do with our claim. It don't have nothing to do with us. We ain't got to be mixed up in that shit. They need to go after the shit that's going on with them. There's some real fuck shit going on with white people. And the Indian Child Welfare Act, ICWA, was the Republicans just tried to take Indian sovereignty away and say it was race-based. So Republicans and white motherfuckers is going after everybody. It ain't like, we could afford to not recognize that we ain't the only special ones they hate. They hate everybody. And one day, hopefully, red, brown, black, and everything rise up in this motherfucker, because we're going to be the majority. And we put foot to their ass for a change. But to that day, I hope we get ours, obviously. But everybody got a good claim against these crackers. So that's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you, Shepard. Let me go ahead and let me see if anybody else wants to speak, because we're gonna be closing it out in a second, y'all. So I'm trying to see if any other speakers. I might take one or two more speakers. If you're gonna speak, come on up here now. If you wait till we get ready to close it out, I'm not gonna let you speak. So if you got something you want to say real quick, go ahead and get it in. If not, I'm gonna let Dana be the last speaker for the night, and then we'll go ahead and kick it to the co-host, and we'll close it down. Phoenix, go ahead and get it in.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the space, and I want to also say, you guys, look at the resources, everything from Newstoter space or YouTube channel in the Jumbotron. I also put another resource for the historical knowledge that we're sharing about us being indigenous to this land. Also, if you want to dig deeper, there's always the Library of Congress. There are records. So we don't have to, there's not a situation where we say we don't know, right? Because there are historical documents right here to this day that we have access to, primary sources from the so-called founders of this land, the so-called, pilgrims. But before them, there were the conquistadors. Remember, the Spanish came in and invaded first. So all of this stuff is historical records at the Library of Congress. You can go online. Also, if you look at the video that I posted in the Jumbotron from the Native American brother who's waking up our history in this land, and he's actual Native American. You can he lists in his bibliography. He lists all of his primary sources. So, folks, family, we don't have to not know our true history and why these people are working against us, because they know that they invaded our land and we're prisoners of war, and those plantations that we worked on were the plantations that we were prisoners on. So I'll just leave it there. And also I put the budget for how much money Native Americans get from the government every year. So, yeah, sorry that things happen. Things are happening to us right now at this present time as well. So, right now, our focus is on us because nobody else is getting billions and billions. We're not getting billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. So, I say this about how they tell history and how everyone bought into it and how they try to erase our history and how they're trying to erase us now, even when it comes down to something like hip hop. So don't think that the erase's not on. We have to gatekeep our history. We have to dig deeper into our history and share it in our land.
All right. Go ahead, Shepard.
Hey, yeah, I agree with the sister said. Phoenix Star, I think that's your name. The only caveat I would put is that they went to war. They literally went to war. Part of getting reparations, the billions and billions and billions that they get, their reparation, their reservations, is that they went to war and they became a threat to the dominant society at the time. A real credible threat. They took scalps, they cut throats, they really stopped the settlers. When black people were building the Pacific Road to go through the West, and that shit ain't benefit us at all. For all these new European settlers, the Indians was the ones stopping the Pacific Road and cutting their throats and killing the military. So reparations is really a war term. Everything we talk about reparations, we see it paid out successfully to the Hmong people who fought with America during the Vietnam War, to the Japanese. They got trapped in a war situation. Almost everybody who get reparations is coming through having some type of violence attached to it. And then my Afrofuturistic self, I wish that when we had our strongest 200,000 black men in the U.S. Army with guns, with access to naval ships, with our 40,000 sailors, and we had all the spies spying for the Union, and we were the ones winning the battles in North Carolina on the Cape Fear River because our black spies, our slaves that were spying for the Union, gave the Union all the information, right, for many, many battles that we won, right? I wish we would have, at the moment the Union thought it won, I wish we would have went to war. I wish we would have declared war. I wish we would have, and then we would have reparations. We had fought and lost 500,000 back then. If we had fought and lost 1 million of us out of the 4 million that was enslaved, we had just fought back at that moment in time and joined with the Indians. This is Afrofuturism. Y'all can look up the term, you don't know, but this is historic Afrofuturism. I wish we had fought, and then we would already been put on reservations, and we'd have our billions and billions. We may have had a sovereign nation within within America. But one thing you have to understand, they took the reservations back from us, Sherman's Reservation, it was called. Why they took those acres back, they had I don't mean to use the same word twice, but it means the same thing. They had reservations about us having a sovereign nation and access to ports and access to the river and access to land and access to foreign governments within the nation of they knew how intelligent we were. So they were trying to give us our own foreign nation. It was actually our own sovereignty inside the United States. That's another reason why we didn't get the full reparations. They figured they would just dominate us, keep us docile, and keep us as workhorses to build the nation, then cut us out the loop. But with the Indians, they knew they couldn't do that shit, so they had to put them as far west, isolate them, cut their water, cut their lands, cut their cattle, kill all their buffalo. They had to make sure that they could just economically destroy them. But with us, because we didn't fight, because they thought we was already indoctrinated, they didn't feel they had to do that to us. And it looks like their plan really worked. Like they really knew our psychology and shit. There really was a religion book. There really was religion pumped into us. There really was indoctrination through the Freedmen Bureau and through the Freedmen Bureau schools to Christianize us and make us docile and erase our history of being warriors. So I'll leave it with that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, we got a speaker coming up here. I'm going to see real quick if he wants to speak. Let me see real quick. Viral drip. You just requested to speak. You got something to say?
Yes, sir. Thanks for allowing I just
Thanks, Shepard.
chime in and reply on that real quick. We fought when they were putting us on the boat. We fought when we came off the boat. We fought while we were here. I just disagree with that because if you do your research, you will find all kind of rebellions and uprisings throughout history. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, no, you misunderstand. There's 4 million of us. We didn't fight in the manner that I'm saying. It was 4 million of us just in the South that were advancing. 4 million. I'm not talking about 16 slaves, 30 slaves, 60 slaves. No. I'm talking about stealing their boats. I'm talking about blowing up their ports. I'm talking about doing what my man did when he stole that Confederate warship. John, whatever his name is, I'm bad with names, but the black dude, he stole the whole Confederate warship. We could have stole like 20 of their shit, 40 of their ships, and we knew how to sail them. Matter of fact, we built them. Like, no, we could have really went in on their ass. We the ones who built the motherfucking White House, could have blew that shit up. Like on some real shit. We had access to dynamite. Back then, when we was just coming out of slavery and the Union was hiring us, we had access to dynamite. We had access to their bridges, to their plans. They would talk their plans right around us because they thought we were stupid. But we had more spies for the Union that helped plan and defeat the Confederacy than they had spies because nobody white could get around these Confederate motherfuckers and listen to what they're saying and get their plans to the Union. So I'm talking militarily. I'm not talking about no uprising. I'm talking about we had the father of black nationalism, Delaney type. Let's go to war like the Indian went to war, like 1 million of us, 500,000 of us, and we would have got our reparations. There's no denying that. That's a fact. Anybody who fought back got something, and we didn't fight back. We didn't get nothing.
All right. Thank you, Shepard. Let me go ahead and get the black majority state. Then I'm going to go ahead and get to Dana, and we'll close it out for the night.
Okay. Thank you, Newstoter, for allowing me to come up to speak. Man, let me say this like this. The representation of had we lost 500,000 or 1 million black Americans fighting against the Union to get compensation today is very bizarre to me. Like, I just don't understand that level of consciousness. All of these groups that may have lost militarily to gain reparations at some point in the future, they all lost. We were actually on the winning side of the Civil War. And no, I would not want to go back in time and allow the ancestors that eventually produced what would become Black America to lose 500,000 or 1 million in population for financial compensation at some point in the future. I totally disagree with that. That assessment. I don't think that we won't get reparations. We will get it. It's a debt, so we will get it. It'll take some time, but eventually we will figure it out. If someone said, I wish we had fought to control states as we did control the state of South Carolina, as we did rewrite the state of South Carolina Constitution, I could agree with that. If someone said, if we had a better understanding of our military might and establishing a state defense force in South Carolina at that time to defend ourselves from whoever, Confederate, Union, whatever, I would agree with that. But I do not agree with the assertion that we should have lost greatly in order to benefit financially at some future point.
May I?
Hey, go ahead real quick.
Yeah, I know you want to type room. I was, I want to jump in. That's good. That's why it's called Afrofuturism, brother. Black majority state. Afrofuturism. Look it up, man. It's the ability of black men and black women to go ahead and dream of a future that they think would have been a future that they'd like to see. And me personally, I don't want to see 20 to 50,000 of us dead from smallpox
in the Devil's Punch Bowl in 1864. I didn't want to see 50,000 of us dead in shallow graves behind sugar cane factories, right? Let's add up the numbers of how many of us died right after Reconstruction, during Reconstruction, as a matter of fact, not even after Reconstruction. I wouldn't want to see a million of us deported and evicted from the land that we got from Sherman's Reservation. That the same Union military that you said we won with came back and put bayonets to our throats and kicked us off the land that they had just gave us. So how was we on the winning side when we got disenfranchised immediately? Immediately we was disenfranchised. It wasn't like no 5 years we was running no South Carolina, no shit like that. It was on the legislature, okay, big deal. But if we fought back like every fucking body else and just we took our losses, we would have took some losses. But Black Americans that are here today would have been in a better place. We wouldn't be populating the prisons like we were. We would have some more history that we stood up with our backs straight and we fought back against white oppression. And all the shit that happened concurrently after Reconstruction, fucking Jim Crow, there would have been no Jim Crow if we had fought back immediately. There would have been no need for Jim Crow because they would have said, we got to get rid of these Black people into their own reservation, and they would have did what the fucking Department of Interior did with Indians. And we would have had a separate sovereign state, just like the sovereign state that you have, that you want, the Black Belt, the New Africa plan. It would have had the same thing that you're talking about. So we don't disagree totally, but you're saying you don't want to see us take no losses. Well, we took over 2 million losses. Why the fuck do you think we fled? 7 million of us fled the South and went up north and brought jazz and brought all this music up north because we were being murdered anyway. That's why we fled. We didn't stay in the South. Shit, yo, what up, son? He's making me go in. Yo, so like we fought then. We had to fight at the end when we had the guns. How do we fight when they took the guns away from us after the Civil War? We had the guns then. We had the dynamite. We knew how to use the cannons. We was strong in the military at that moment. We had the horses. Matter of fact, they was using the military to protect their money. The Mississippi River was the money train. That was the way we moved cargo, and the U.S. made money by shipping shit out to Spain and France and all that. We had all of the ports. If we had fought, shit would have been a lot better for us. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Go ahead real quick, Black, and then we're going to go ahead and get to Dana.
Okay. Anybody who says that we should have lost 500,000 people to be paid at some future point is just totally off code as far as I'm concerned. And
I didn't say nothing about being paid. Stop. Pause. I didn't say nothing about
being paid. You said that all of the defeated people in the past lost their rewards, and that's how they got reparations, by losing.
Yeah, reparations is 10 points. It's 10 points to reparations. There's apology, right? You got to go through the 10 points. There's land. There's money. There's grants.
Right? So
there's
are you going to speak over me or what?
Yeah. Let him. Yeah, let him go ahead and speak, Shepard. Go ahead, Black.
You said you wanted us to be on reservations when reservations are not sovereign. Number one, they have no authority. Number two, they're under state and federal governments. Number three, so you want to put us in a position where we are far worse off than we are today in our current existence because reservations operate like third world countries, and you can laugh as much as you want, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You talk a lot, you throw up a lot of facts and figures, but you really don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It would have been suicide and genocidal for Black Americans to be put on fucking reservations. That would have been a horrible fucking mistake. And I don't want to.
All right, Shepard. Go let him finish. Now, nobody's cutting you off. Go ahead, Black.
I do not want the New Republic plan. I do not want reservations. I do not want whatever you think it is that I want. I've explained it very, very clear, extremely clear, because I understand how this country actually works. This country works through federal governments and state governments, and that's where the authority lies. And nothing else in this country has enough authority to protect and prosper us.
So yes, we did control the state of South Carolina. Whether you think it happened or not, the facts prove that they did. They rewrote the state constitution. They set up the first publicly funded education system in South Carolina. And we were always fighting these people. We have always been at war with these people, and we will always be at war with these people. And being on a fucking reservation where they can't build a military, they have no fucking authority over anything. They barely have gas lines and plumbing and electricity. Like it's just insane. It's insane. And most of the times I listen to you talk, and I didn't even want to come up today, but you're very disrespectful, extremely disrespectful. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
Good, because you need to Google Sherman's Reservation, 40 acres and a mule. About reservations of this and reservations of that. We were literally getting ready. We're put on a reservation of land reserved for us during a wartime crisis. So you don't know what you're talking about because you probably don't know that 40 acres and a mule.
All right, everybody, stay on your mic. Shepard, I'm gonna go ahead and let you give you a minute because then I got to move on because I'm trying to close.
No doubt. Because I know they get ready to like gang jump me and shit and all that shit. All right, I'm doing it.
Ain't nobody about to gang jump you.
Everybody, I just said stay on your mic. All right, let me go ahead and get to
Hi, Miss Rella. Let me finish what I was saying. She can't dump me again. Look, Sherman's Reservation was 40 acres and a mule. Maybe you need to study your history and stop telling me what I don't know. Why don't you look that up? Because then you'll understand that we were the first to really get put on a reservation. That 40 acres and a mule. Skipjack Island was a reservation for us. What are you talking about? The Port Royal experiment, that was a reservation for us, right? 40 acres and a mule, that was a reservation. It was 30 miles deep, whatever miles long, and it had contiguous borders that was supposed to be our land. But it wasn't never fleshed out. What we would get, what we wouldn't get, that was never fleshed out. But it was called Sherman's Reservation by legal scholars and by the military. All right, because that's all they knew how to call it. So don't tell somebody don't know what they're talking about when you the one don't know what you're talking about.
All right, let me go ahead and get to Rella real quick and Brooke real quick because we're gonna be closing the space out.
Hey, Newstoter, DJ and Professor.
What's up?
Pardon me. How are you guys? So again, I want to. The Indigenous reparations. They've been having these discussions, and I think I've talked about this over the last year. Their discussions on reparations is going to be the same as them having to do a study and bring about a commissions, and they're going to have to pinpoint who it is that they're talking about will be getting reparations. That is separate from the discussion of the American descendants, Black Americans, freedmen, people in the state of California. I think that opening Pandora's box for the Indians will probably bring about a lot of this discussion. Will people show up and take their issues and concerns like they did in this room to the hearings? I don't know. I don't know because we kind of tend to not have a lot of the commitment when it comes to bringing logical concerns to the hearings and making sure that we are heard for the people who have indigenous blood in your lineage. And I'll leave that there. What was the Cali bill to consider race in sentencing? Is that separate or is that the same thing?
It's separate.
So can you just give me a recap on that?
Yeah, it's about a bill that they're trying to pass in California that's supposed to lower sentences potentially for black criminals over because of the slavery issue. So it's a bill that they're trying to pass. It's up in the Jumbotron, but it's a bill that lawmakers are trying to pass where judges could potentially lower sentences for black criminals over slavery.
Okay. So, because I think I brought it up too, that the 13th Amendment does classify anyone within a conviction would actually be put into what is called slavery. It is actually written in the 13th Amendment. That's going to be a hard thing not to, someone not to bring that up. So it'd be interesting to see what the attorneys, the DOJ attorneys actually consider. I don't think it's going to let people off, but it probably would, they make money in prisons now. They work and do stuff and make money in prisons now. So maybe the money would go to family members or children if the inmates have children versus letting them off and not serving time if they're hardened criminals. So I'll let that there. And then two, we also know that there are people who have been falsely imprisoned. So that might open the door for people's cases to be looked at as well. So again, all these things require a fine-tooth comb and for people to actually now to start taking a look at them. So I'm not against it. The discussion that just took place, and this is why I always say when we're having conversations about historical records, when people run off or they do that hit dog holler type shit where they like to kind of call you names to throw you off or put something out in that ethosphere to throw you off from the conversation. Again, prior to Reconstruction, there was no authority. And yes, we held offices around the country. People were in positions as a candidate in Congress or serving on the boards in states, but they didn't have any real authority. And so that's the one thing, I don't understand why it is when we start to have these conversations, people just start saying stuff. And then it wasn't 4 million slaves. People keep using that 4 million slaves number. People had children. They were forced to breed. They were breeding farms. So that 4 million was actually doubled. And because we don't have an actual number, we're only given whatever documentation that is released by the Library of Congress or whatever documentation is in whatever universities that's released on Google when you Google information. So I do not believe that 4 million number is a true number because there were breeding farms and they were breeding us by cattle. We don't have an actual real number count. And December 6, 1865, it is a claim that there were over a certain amount of numbers of people up north who were still enslaved that were freed. So again, once the 13th Amendment was ratified, so again, it takes me back to maybe we do need to have a space, and I agree with Phoenix, that where we need to actually see these things with our eyes and read them. Google is erasing stuff because people who are quick with the draw or more organized than we are, they actually can go on Google and put a petition in and have stuff erased. So when Original says that there are things that you could have pulled up for record, you can't now, it's because people actually now can go and you can, it's quick, it's real quick. You can file an online petition and you can have it removed off of Google and you won't see it ever again. So it is important that we do, if you find information, download it on a USB drive, some sort of removable hard drive, and get it off of the internet if you can, right then and there when you see it, and then hold on to it, and then we can compile data like that maybe later on to be used, because they're trying to erase information because we're catching on, but we're not catching on quick enough. So I'll leave it there, and I know you getting ready to close Newstoter, so thank you for hearing me speak.
Okay. Thank you, Rella. Brooke, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Oh, man. The last speaker. That's a lot of pressure, and to go up to Rella, that's even more pressure. I hope I do good. Newstoter, co-hosts, professor, right people.
What's up?
Hey. Yeah, well, okay. so I'm just gonna run it right down. I'm not gonna be before you long. The Cali bill to consider race and sentencing, heavy sigh. Are we surprised that they are looking for yet another way to block either a privilege or a right from a person of melanin, from a descendant of chattel slavery? We shouldn't be. If you are surprised, I'm surprised that you're surprised. They are, especially in California, seeing as though illegal, undocumented citizens are allowed to become authority figures and police officers. Of course, they want to take away voting from anybody they possibly can. That just makes too much sense. They've already explained it to us and told us who they are. They told us that they're on a plan to eliminate us, and they're working their plan. And from a A-type personality, I have to see and acknowledge and like, okay, I respect that. Y'all set a goal to kill people, and y'all are working through that goal. And to steal, kill, and destroy, rather. As far as the Indigenous reparations in California, specifically with that story about the Brighton, I mean, not the Brighton, but the beach. You know what beach I'm talking about. And this lady, bless her heart, bless whoever that 52-year-old guy is, bless his heart. That is so sweet. Again, I think I said this earlier today in Phoenix Space. We are natural born, inherently giving, compassionate. We are so awesome. And I just want to really just lift everybody up, let them go home or go back to your normal life knowing that you are part of an awesome bloodline. We are fathoms. They can't figure out. We are enigmas. We're so powerful. However many of us there are right now, if we're 50 million or 40 million, we're basically putting us in jail, and that prison complex industry, the billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry, is basically, in some shape, form, or fashion, feeding the entire globe of 8 billion people. Our blood, reproduces on some crazy ass shit. Henrietta Lacks, okay? Even when we've been bombed, we still managed to live to be over 100 years old, Tulsa. And here we are, 2023. Even though we might have some disagreements, there's one thing we can all agree on, is this is our reparation. And if that 52-year-old dude wants to share his portion of his own reparations after the rest of us get our check, he is more than welcome to do that. And we applaud him for sharing. Sharing is caring. That is so nice of him. Amen. The rest of us, because ain't nobody getting none of mine. And lastly, I would just like to challenge everybody to, when we talk about so that last little conversation between the two gentlemen, they both have some amazing facts, and I want to challenge both of them, and all of us to bring power to life and using the story of our individual families. A lot of times we, right, say we a lot. A lot of times we're in spaces, I hear people say, oh, we don't do this, or we always do that, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's a lot of pressure. that's a little bit unfair. Like all the expectations of, if there's 70 people in a space and each person has their own definition of what we should do, there's 70 different opinions. And it's too much. It's too much. So, when you're telling us about the land that you've lost in your family, please tell us about that. We need to hear more about individual families. It's okay for us to talk about the journey that our individual ancestors have gone on and how it's different from one person's to a next. One person might have migrated because of racial stuff. I had some great migration in my family where they got kicked off their land. They're very plentiful oil-bearing land where they picked him up in the middle of the night, drove him across state lines, and made him walk back. And I think it was like the second or third time that they picked him up and drove him across state lines. He was like, okay, you guys can have it because I'm not walking back anymore. And eventually they'll get tired of dropping him across state lines. They'll just string him up across state lines. And so it's okay to understand that not everybody has the same story. And I land my plane. Thank you.
All right, Brooke. Thank you. Black, I'm gonna let you, since you spoke a couple times, I'm gonna let you get it in real quick, and then we got to go ahead and try to close this space out. I get to Dana, and then we're gonna close it out for the night.
Okay, I truly appreciate it. I just want to correct a few things. The Bureau of Indian Affairs was created in 1824. The date is in their logo and their insignia. This is decades before Civil War, decades before Special Order 15, which was in the War Department, which was a completely separate powers from the U.S. federal government at the time. Special Field Order 15 was not a reservation package at all. I don't care what anybody may have called it later in time. It was essentially plots of land in which our ancestors would work off the debt and eventually gain ownership. There was at no point in time where they have some separate sovereign government or they would be outside of the jurisdiction of the states in which the land was located and or the United States government in which it was also located. So I just want to clarify that fallacy. The other thing is, if the United States government intended to put us on reservations, they quite literally had the entire western half of the country in order to do that. And they did not do that. And in fact, for about 100 years leading up to the Civil War, they have been trying to come up with a plan to repatriate us, South America, Africa, all over the country, anywhere but here. And every time asked, our people said, no, we are Americans. This is our country. This is our land. We are not going anywhere. So the thought to think that our people would say, put me on a reservation, again, is historically, factually inaccurate. Thank you.
All right. Dana, I know you said you want to say something real quick, so I'm going to go ahead and...
It don't make no sense for me to say it now because that thing is not in your space.
Okay.
And because I don't see the thing in your space, and I shouldn't have waited to be the last one. I should have just said what I said when moments when that thing was in this space. But now when you're doing your Twitter space tomorrow, because I was going to kind of segue into that because I'll do my YouTube thing tomorrow, so I won't be on your space tomorrow. But it don't matter because I'll catch you in the next one, and I'm not going to wait to be the last speaker, and I don't care what the topic is. I'm going to address that piece of shit.
All
so,
right.
And it don't make no sense for me to say it now because they're not in here. And I'm like, I like to face people to their face. I don't talk about people behind their back. So I'll wait till she pop up in another space or in this space or my space so I could put somebody in their place. So it's just certain shit that you're not going to sit up here and start slandering. You're not. I'm not about to do that slandering game. So yeah. So never. It doesn't matter. If I have time, it depends on if I have time to hop in tomorrow, I'll do it. If not, I'll just catch her live when that piece of shit is in your live again.
All righty. So on that note, I'm gonna say, DJ Professor, y'all got something y'all want to say really, really quick.
Yeah, shout out to all that was it. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you know, if we ain't trying to go fight harder for our reparations, we can't get mad at you know, who gripped in it, I guess. Good night, y'all.
Yeah, I just want to say great space. Come to the space tomorrow night as we go in on the Karens. That's what I'm talking about. We're going in on the Karen. Black majority. Shout out to Black majority, man. Never heard the brother cuss up in this space before, so I got to give a shout out to him. That's what
rubbing off on him, Professor. You rubbing off on him.
That's what I'm talking about. Brother Black Majority State, y'all. Give a shout out to the brother, okay? And make sure you go to his space on Saturday nights. Newstoter, we out, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, indeed. We're going to be back tomorrow night, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I see a couple of Cognitive and Professor. A couple of y'all already tweeted out the space. I told y'all I had it up in the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side. I told everybody to go ahead and tweet the space out that could. Few of us tweeted out, but we had like 60, 70 people in the space at one time. So if everybody would have tweeted out, even more people would have saw it as well, too. So definitely tweet the space out. Real quick, DJ, you got something to say?
Yeah, where is it at in the Jumbotron?
It's on the far right-hand side. The very first one on the right-hand side is the actual space for tomorrow night. So definitely go ahead, y'all, and tweet that out before the space go. It's going to be a pretty good space. I anticipate as well, too, Thursday night space. So y'all know it'll be our last space during the week. So we'll definitely want to go ahead and y'all make sure y'all come out as well in support as always. So thank you to the co-hosts, the listeners, the speakers, and everybody who came up in the space tonight. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you go ahead and check for those notifications as we send them out as well tomorrow night as well, too, throughout the afternoon. So peace. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Everybody take care.
Peace. Come to Brother Moko space. We over there.